Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 70 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam. That is Mel. And we are not your typical bras talking about your typical wrestling. You haven't seen us in about 10 days because we were last here for our nice episode on the nicest day of the year. And so now we're back at our regularly scheduled programming.
Correct. Yes. That was like the longest stretch we've been gone since we started.
I think so.
All
And then
right.
I
Well,
realized when we were after we hit that this week would be 70, I realized that we are now just 30 episodes away from 100.
yeah,
And
you know what? I had that thought the other day. I was not yesterday, but the day before, I was like standing there going, wait a minute.
yeah,
Because
and
I
I
looked at it was because Garrett sent me the graphic and I was like,
yeah, and I
no.
was doing a little bit of math, and I think episode 100 will come right after the beginning of next year, unless we do like some special episodes in between or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Then it is on track to be right after the beginning of the next year.
Well,
So,
I mean, it'll get here when it gets
oh,
here.
it does. I just was like, oh
We don't
wow.
want to rush. I
No, not at
mean,
all. But I was like,
getting old. No,
it's
just
like
kidding. I'm totally kidding. No.
I was like,
Happy
oh wow.
Father's Day to all the fathers out
Yes.
there in
And
whatever incarnation you may exist.
yes, and I also wanted to say for anybody that is having a hard time with today, I hope today passes as gently as possible for you because I
Yeah,
saw a
today's
tweet from a couple people today and I'm lucky to still have my dad around and I know that it's very difficult for a lot of people. So for those of you that this is a tough day for whatever reason, I just hope it passes gently and quickly for you.
that's really nice, actually. It's nice of you to say that because that matters. And
Thank you.
it's if you have a good relationship and it's totally healthy for you, make sure and hug your dad. Tell him you
Yeah,
love him.
definitely.
Whatever that looks like. 'Cause
Yes,
there's all kinds of
definitely.
father figures in this world, right?
Exactly.
Lots of special guys.
Yes, for sure.
And you know, it's kind of a good day for it because like we're kicking off. It's been a weird like I didn't do pictures this week because it was so weird. Everything was all over the
Yeah, I didn't
place,
even
and
think
people
about
were
pictures
yelling
until
about like the getting their panties in a wad about some. Yeah, and we'll get to it,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
we will.
just
And I didn't even think about it until I was logging in for this and I was like, "Oh, I don't think there's pictures." And I was like, and then next week I've got to be on it because Mel will not be here next week cuz
I will. I'm going to show you how to.
I know how to do it. I just have to do it.
All
But
right,
or
I
yeah,
figure you did.
you might have to give me a refresher. Well, and the other thing that we know now. Oh yeah, so we'll make
Well,
next week.
actually,
Hopefully, it'll
what's
be
cool is I have a
Monday.
little thing for it, so we can
Ooh,
both do it
okay.
together,
All
and you
right.
can
Well,
just
Sam will be learning then. Sam will
just
be
like
learning some
see,
more
just
stuff.
like our notes. We can link to it. I mean, I hate that they invade our privacy, but Google can be pretty handy when you need it. Pretty handy, and
Right?
everyone can pretty much use it. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone that works around this place. I'm a little like out of it because I'm like tuned into Garrett and those guys doing the live stream after Collision last night,
Yeah, I
and it
watched
was
it
a lot of
too.
fun. And
Yeah. I tried to keep comments to myself because I knew we'd be talking about it today. And I was like, I don't want to give everything away about like my thoughts and things. And so I was like just trying to like watch it and like listen. It was nice. I liked getting their not feedback, but like their opinions on like what they saw. And a lot of it lined up with what I thought when I'm sure you as well. But yeah, it was cool though. It looked like they had a nice little showing last night
yeah, the
after
only
Collision. Good
reason
for
I
them.
comment usually is to help with the algorithm because
Same.
it's such a
Me
jerk.
too.
It's such a jerk.
No,
So
it is. It is.
it's a real
I was like, let
butthole
me go ahead and
sometimes.
like this now so that it will push it out there. No, I'm right there with you. So I
It's
was like,
hilarious. It's one of my favorite channels that I watch. Always, he is like hilarious about like him and his hecklefish are hilarious about making fun of the algorithm. So I
right.
mean, we
Yeah.
all have to embrace it and
Yeah.
live with it. So
Yes. But so back to Mel not being here next week because she'll be at Forbidden Door.
I will be at Forbidden
I will be hashtag not in Toronto.
Door too.
But we do have some guests lined up so that I will not be talking to myself for an hour and a half. And so we'll I guess maybe we'll reveal that later this week. Or maybe we'll just keep it a surprise and you'll have to tune in next week to see who's coming. We'll see. But I do have some special guests. I think that you guys will like it. I think you'll enjoy it. I think they will be first time. No, wait. Are they both? Will they both be honorary? No. Only one I think will be an honorary broad, right?
I don't think either of them have been on our show, have they?
Right. So then we'll have new honorary broads.
They get inducted into the honorary broad hall of broads. And
not to be HOB, not to be confused with House of Black.
House of Black or the Book of Hobbs or anything right. else. Way too confusing.
So we have some stuff lined up for you next week for the pre-show because that's kind of our thing now is the pre-show. So I'm
on the same time zone. It doesn't change my time zone anyway. Like I'm literally going. Right. Like it's 3 hours away from me. I can see it from downtown. Like it's hilarious to think about. But I mean, people like go back and forth. I mean, one of the things that was funny about the work visa thing was like there was like a whole thing about how a bunch of the Japanese wrestlers couldn't get work visas in Canada, but actually they don't need them. And I was like, well, all you had to do was ask someone from like Michigan or something like that. Because we have people who live here in Michigan and work in Canada and vice versa. So, I mean, I'm excited. Like because it's going to feel like, they're my pals, they're my neighbors. And I've never been, and I always love going to new places. And maybe I'll try and pop in. You'll have to send me the link.
Yes, I will send you the link. That way,
you never know.
Can pop in. We'll see. So maybe we'll have a surprise appearance from Mel next week.
I mean, if Saturday night, if we're feeling it, we might hit Collision. So I might have stuff to talk about.
And make sure you're following Powerbombshells on Twitter and Instagram at Powerbombshells, just in case. Maybe we don't know. I don't want to put pressure on Mel, and we know how things get when you're at places, but maybe she'll post a picture or two or post her Tim Hortons order.
I should definitely do a posting of my Tim Hortons in actual Canada. It's so funny because yesterday I walked up to the pharmacy and I walked by a Tim Hortons because there's one right here, but it's not in Canada, so it's not the same.
So it doesn't count.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. It's completely different.
So, and I am going to try and use the social media because that is a good way to do it quickly.
Yeah, it is. But I know when you're there and you get into doing things, it gets hard to keep up with. So
that's why I've been trying to get myself in the habit this weekend and this week. I was trying to use the IG and our stuff for posting last year pictures so that I was getting in the habit of using our Powerbombshells IG there.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So I'm like, get yourself in the habit.
So just make sure you're following us because there may or may not be some stuff there. And even if there's not anything like live or day of, then I'm sure in the coming days afterwards she'll have content for us.
I definitely will. And our surprise guest, we will get to crisscross again. So it's like a surprise with a bonus surprise.
Yes, that is awesome. True. That's a very good way to look at it.
Because you're getting like twice as much. But it's gonna be lots of fun. I'm very excited. It's not just like I love this year. Like everyone's happy about the build. Everybody's happy about the pay-per-view. I know people on this network pretty well now, so it's fun, and when I've got you and we talk, and I can communicate with you and send things along for and it's just like, so it's a lot of fun because it
is.
You can all live vicariously through me, and
I know I will at least.
And I'm happy to share it because it's a lot of fun. And it's new for me too, so
it's gonna be. I know you're gonna have a lot of fun.
It's gonna be dope.
So I had to say hello to Daza over here because he's been in the comments, and Daza's ambition is to be an honorary broad. That's a good ambition to have. I think maybe we got to figure out a way to maybe make that happen.
Hook it up.
We want to make dreams happen over here on Powerbombshells.
Making dreams happen. Daza does even participate in our Discord channel, so I mean, he's definitely working his way to like he's leveling up to honorary Broad, we'll say at this point.
Well,
And
good.
So there, we'll get it in there. So dreams.
Yes.
Short-term and long-term goals.
Right.
Man, you know which picture I didn't pop up, and I will find it and get it out there, though, is that Paul Fontaine posted a fantastic picture in our channel of, it said Samantha is the goat, I think.
I did see that. Paul tagged me in that.
It?
I did.
And it went right down to the fact that it had
a
microphone on the actual...
Yes.
Yep. It said Samantha is the goat, and it has a little microphone on it. It was on WWE on Raw.
It was.
I will get hold of this for our
Yes,
viewers.
I didn't even think about using that for putting that up on here, but yes, we have to, or put it on our social media. God,
I'm so mad at myself because that was the one picture I did want to bring to the thing today, and totally.
I don't know why I didn't even think about it, and I didn't even think to post it to our social media.
It's one of those things.
I think doing this Friday show has thrown us off completely.
I think that's what happened. And especially since we hadn't missed a Sunday.
I think there was one. I think there was one early on, and we I can't remember. And I think we just did a Saturday or so. We did, or we filmed it and just maybe that's what it was. We pre-recorded and then put it up on that Sunday. It was something like that.
We did pre-record it, but put it on Sunday.
Yeah,
we moved to Sundays and made Sunday our day, and we were like. And this is a lot of inside baseball for you all, which I know you guys want to hear about.
Right.
You know that you love it when you hear the backstage juicy story.
Yeah, this is super juicy stuff that going on a Friday has completely thrown us off.
Plus, it was such a weird week. Let's be real. It was kind of a weird week it was a weird wrestling week. It wasn't a particularly crazy wrestling week, but it was more there was a lot of I don't know. It was a drama week. It was full of drama. It was a lot of drama.
It's drama that people shouldn't have been starting in the first place, and so
it was speculative drama. It's I don't want to speculate now. Let me speculate.
Not even speculative. It was vague posting and stirring the pot.
Well, and then we'll get to
all that. But Daza said I posted some pics of our wrestling action figures in honor of the 69th episode.
Yeah, those were racy, man. No, they were impressive. They were impressively
wow.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I missed those.
Yeah, 69 meet on. Am I right? So it's just these are things that
Well, Daza, I'm glad that you did that and at least see it.
69, you saved me.
What could have been? Because that's not happening now.
One day when Sam feels comfortable joining, she will get to see that, because most of the images we have been so kindly boosted by a couple of our members, and that makes our server able to access a lot more fun things. We can do more reacts and stuff. They actually made that Samantha is the goat sign. They made that into a react. So
I love it. That's awesome.
My favorite silly things about Discord is that you can make a reaction out of anything you want to, and it's super duper easy to do it if you have admin.
Oh, that's cool.
So we have Garrett reacts, and there's we have all the shows have reaction gifs. So the Boom has a Boom reaction, and we have a Powerbombshells reaction. And then, Grandpa Dave with 5 stars, and magically that someone photoshopped. That's one of my favorite photoshops. And there's all kinds of fun stuff in there that's we do the wrestling related stuff, but we also talk about booze mixer recipes was one of the things that was going around, and we travel, and just our conspiracy corner channel.
Yeah, I know I need to join just for that channel.
As you would imagine, Mike Gilbert and I mean James needs to get in on that, but he like you is there's a lot. You guys have so much going on social media and regular job wise that it's like this is not what I want to do with my personal life. But it's okay because you have us to relay it back to.
Yes.
And if you do want an invite to that, you go ahead and email Gigi at fightgamemedia.com. Let him know that you heard it here.
Yes.
We're not just letting in any old shlomo off the street. So that's where we are with that.
Yes. So we were getting some love from Fight Game Media, letting people know we were live. So I was like, let me retweet that.
That's so nice.
I was like, let me retweet that so that it's still valid while we're still live.
Totally. Yeah. It's totally. We are way pro.
Yes.
The proest show.
We try.
Know. I'm very rhymey today.
We're so pro that we forgot to do pictures this week.
Yeah, it's fine. You know what? It'll be super picturey next week because it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
Because it's for Forbidden Door. And we have like almost, there's almost a whole card here already. And there's still room for a card here. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Figure out at least.
I don't think it hit.
I assume it's just going to be one women's match, but hopefully they'll make that this week.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Where's the part about us talking about Dynamite? Because, whatever. It's right there. So you were right. It did get.
Yeah,
our notes got all mixed up for some reason.
Yeah, they were there.
Google, and then it mixed up our notes. So.
Yeah, they had notes yesterday, and last week's nice notes were there, and then somehow they got into some of this week's notes, and I was like, that was part of the reason we were a couple minutes late too, is because we were trying to. I was like, I don't want to talk about everything we just talked about. On Friday, Daza, there's not one yet. Daza asked, "What's the women's match from Forbidden Door?" I assume it's going to be Willow. I assume it's going to be Willow defending the IWGP Strong title. Some people are wondering if it'll be somebody from the Outcast because it's technically you do go with that does sound like an AEW match because that's what they did last year. They did Thunder Rosa versus was it Tony?
It was Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm.
Yeah, last year, which was just an AEW match. So while Tony versus Willow would technically be an AEW match, it would be for the New Japan title. So I guess that's how they can get around it. If that's the match,
I think they should make. I don't think they should have it be Tony again.
No, I don't think. I don't think
they should give it to the minimum, like someone was suggesting, versus maybe Ruby. Versus Willow, and I'd take that. That's fine.
And I could almost see that happening because last night she pounced the shit out of her and made her hit her head on the barricade, and somebody was like, "She probably has a concussion." I was like, "I hope not," but I don't think she does. But we'll see. Hopefully she's okay. I hope she's all right. But I assume that it'll be Willow versus someone. Daza said it's frustrating because they could get an outsider from somewhere and make it a special occasion. That's what I want them to do, Daza. That's what I would like to see. Or have a woman from Canada.
They blew a hole through everybody debunked any conversations being had with Stardom and moment right now. There's like no plans. At the moment, there are no plans for anybody to be on, but maybe they'll have someone show up.
Right. And then there's because
and make a real challenge.
I mean, they could bet this if Jordan Grace is coming into AEW, perhaps this is where they bring her in. Maybe that
to make a play for that belt or something as
and
part of the Canadian tour so that she's not challenging for the TNT belt or the TBS belt as much, and they do some other program.
And, a name that was thrown out last week was Maki Ito. And I saw a tweet from her today, but it sounds like she said that she's been living in the U.S. for a month. And the next time she comes back, she'll be staying for longer, but she can't find a place. So she's homeless. That's what she said. So I don't know. I don't know that if she's going back to Japan or she's perhaps traveling to Canada and maybe that's who she wrestles, or if she is just going back to Japan. But yeah, I will be disappointed. Personally, I will be disappointed if it is somebody in AEW, but I think that's what I'm just setting myself up to that, so I'm not completely let down, not expecting it to be like just literally anybody from TJPW or something like that. Or they could bring in like, I guess they would. Oh no, they can't do that. Never mind. I was gonna say maybe they could do a rematch with like, well, no, she didn't face Stephanie. Mercedes did, but she's CMLL and they don't have a good relationship. And then as soon as I said, I was like, wait, nope, they don't have a good relationship with New Japan, so that's out.
Nope, can't do that. We don't like each other. We've got heat.
Yes. Daza said there are plenty of Japanese Joshi groups outside of Stardom. If that's an issue, get your fingers out, TK. No, I agree.
Daza, you're getting zero argument from this, side of the camera.
We're right with you, Daza. So yeah,
I would love to see a Japanese lady on the thing more than just like from. Yeah. I love the TJP. I haven't watched a ton of it.
Relationship with TJPW, use it.
Yeah, because they're like they're part of Cyber Agent that does Noah and DDT now. I think that's the Wrestle Universe connection thing. I had to let go of my Wrestle Universe subscription because it was just too much until after the door, and it's too much, and I wasn't using it enough. But the TJPW I freaking love. Like, I think honestly, you would really, 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 really like. You'd have a lot of fun because there's like a fun, like they do a lot of the fun. Like, you'd love Stardom, of course,
right?
But that's more strong style. It's almost like more New Japan.
Yeah.
And TJPW is like a cross between DDT and Noah in its own, but it's like it's got its own identity. That's what I do like about their women's promotions, and why I would have liked to have seen this be like a ladies show. Is that like the Saturday night show? Is that they could have had their own? They could have built their own identity then, like the women's promotions in Japan, where they have their own identity. It's like TJPW and Stardom are totally different promotions.
Right, exactly. Which is really cool that they showcase. So they don't
awesome
because like in North America, the women's they book them, or well, I shouldn't even say North America. In the US, they book the women so similarly, if I could speak today, that they don't have that stand. Well, like, I mean, your indies do to an extent, but your major promotions, like, you don't. And that Nikki and I were talking about it again the other day. Like, this just showed, like, the more I watch Ring of Honor, the more I'm convinced that Tony purposely did not put them on TV so that he can have full control and he can book as many women's matches as he wants. He had, generally there's 3. This week there were 4.
Nice.
Next week's main event, they filmed it last night, but next week's not main event, I assume it's the main event. It should be the main event. Next week, big matches: Athena versus Kiera Hogan in a Chicago street fight for the ROH women's title. So that just reinforces to me that I think that Warner Brothers has a lot of but they have a lot of favor. Maybe they lead Tony to believe that he can only have one match per Dynamite, per Rampage.
Well, they're going to look
at Collision.
They're going to look at it like they're numbers people.
Right.
Warner Brothers cares about pleasing their shareholders because that's what their job is. And unfortunately, Tony, at the end of the day, is like, he owns AEW Wrestling. Like, he owns the wrestling company.
Right.
He does not own the airways on which it is shown. He doesn't own the sponsors, and he doesn't own the infrastructure there. So if your boss comes to you and says, you're going to put this many this on there and this many this, they have to. They don't have.
Yeah, because then I was like, I mean, you see WWE, who generally, again, I'm not currently watching the product, so I don't know how accurate this is, but WWE at one point was putting multiple women's matches on TV. They were doing at least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes more than that. Now, clearly they weren't doing a lot, and they were generally like 3-minute matches, but they were getting multiple. Impact tends to do multiple, but AEW doesn't. Every once in a while they'll have 2 women's matches, but that's very rare occasion. And so that got Tony the reputation of hating women's wrestling, which I can understand seeing that. But that makes me, seeing what he's doing in ROH with the women, makes me wonder how much of AEW's women's division is because he's getting pushback from
network decision and not Tony decision.
It's from the suits. And it's interesting because on All Access, like, they do feature women. They make them catty. they do the typical,
They're
which is
really catty on the
I
show.
kept meaning to bring this up a few weeks ago. Ringleaders, which is TBS's or TNT's like little thing where you can provide feedback. They asked me about All Access, and I told them, I was like, if this is how you're going to portray women, I don't really have any interest in watching next season.
Well, it's no different than the WWE and everybody else's portrayals.
I was like, you play into the reality show tropes.
Yep.
You make Britt Baker seem like she has no life outside of making crying about Thunder Rosa. Like, you make her seem like that's all she cares about. They played up the stuff with Ty and Ruby to make Ruby before they made Ty apologize to Ruby for hitting her, but then there was all this drama to get to it. Like, it's just they play into a lot of tropes, and then we saw it spilling over on TV a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. And so,
well, and they not just that, but I think that they were trying, like Kevin Ely, I think, made the point that they were trying to use that as a conduit to help make those people into like baby faces and heels,
right?
And it didn't take.
No, I think the only person that it took for probably was Sammy Guevara. Because you see more, because you see,
did it? Because like he gets places, a lot of boos.
No, in some cities he's getting cheers, and then he even got them.
It's working for me, but
for some people it is. I mean, I think he's getting more cheers than I mean, the boos are still there, but I think he's getting cheered more than he had prior to the show. Part of that could be now because he and Ty made the announcement that they are having a baby girl. So that obviously, I think so I think people are leaning. Some people, not all people, I think are leaning a little bit more. But I think you're right. For the most part, it kind of backfired, or it didn't do anything one way or another. And so I was like, if this
and then
is how
that stuff dropped completely off TV, right? And I found it, guess where? On my HBO Max this week.
Yes, I heard that they
excuse me, on my Max.
Yeah, I heard that was one of the things that was announced during the upfronts, was that they were moving All Accesses, the seasons over. It was like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, whatever it was, and that they were moving it to Max, which people were kind of like, that's an interesting thing that they're doing. So we'll see.
I probably should have read that in an Observer that I missed and didn't. Sometimes I get really caught up in the bios and then I don't finish reading the important stuff.
I feel you. Nikki pointed this out. Eddie and Sammy squashed their beef in like 3 minutes, but they dragged out the stuff with Ruby and Tay. It was annoying. You know what?
That's a great point.
We talked about. True. We'll get to this when we get to the collision stuff, because I've got some comments and some thoughts, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to get over to the comments for a couple of seconds. So Daza said, there are European women who aren't contracted who could be brought in, Millie McKenzie, for example. Yeah, there's definitely there's plenty of women they could bring in. They're going to come up with excuses. There are no excuses, but they're going to come up with some excuse. And I fully expect it to be somebody from the Outcasts is what I think is going to happen. And Colin says, I'm amazed that some of the women don't kick up a stink after their lack of booking in AEW. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's going on and we're just not hearing about it because they're trying to be a little bit better about what happens backstage now. Because they brought in what's his name from, I can't just blank, Adam, I think is what is his name? The guy that they brought in from WWE. He used to be their PR guy. He was like the VP of PR, and then they released him, and AEW picked him up. And so he's trying to kind of keep a lid on some certain things that are, he basically, from the meeting that was reported on a few weeks ago, he's basically like, just be mindful of who you're talking to, what you're saying on and off the record. Do you understand what off the record means? Like, he's kind of trying to give them some media training. So maybe that's why we're not hearing about it, but maybe they just aren't. And Colin, I hope that they are. I would love, they should. They should be making a stink. Especially there's 3 TV shows now.
I wonder if the hesitancy has been because of the dominant narrative of CM Punk versus the world versus the elite versus, I mean, these ridiculous, like the way that they've leaned full on into like all of the like social media panty wadded kerfuffles and what right. So it's, I mean,
They
obviously to promote the show.
Somebody has made the comment a couple of weeks ago, and I think about this often. Jamie wrestled at All Out injured. She probably should not have wrestled. People, not All Out, Double or Nothing.
Right.
She probably shouldn't have. And people made the point that they wonder if because Britt Baker made such a big stink about Thunder Rosa that Jamie felt like the locker room, not necessarily Britt, because I believe they are friends. They do work together. I mean, obviously they were partnered up and things like that, that they were worried that Jamie was worried that the locker room would treat her the way that Britt treated Thunder Rosa. And that's a really bad example. Like, I get it. Wrestling is cutthroat. You have to look out for yourself. Like, I get that. That's built in.
And it's backstage drama because of the theatrical aspect of it. There's always going to be drama. There's going to be sports politics and theater drama.
Yeah, agreed.
Smashed together.
But now I think about that a lot, and I do really wonder if Jamie was like, well, look at the way Britt treated Thunder Rosa. Is she or another woman gonna treat me the same way because I didn't wrestle injured? And that's a problem. You can't have people wrestling injured because you're afraid they're gonna go to the media or go on social media or go on All Access.
or be promoted like by the company in a show. Right. I mean, that's cutting you to look like, this, and it's sending this message to, and that's it. What worries me about that kind of thing is like people can get seriously injured. That's an old school way of thinking. More than that, it's like we should be backing each other up. Like,
especially in the women's division when there's already,
it's hard enough to get like what we're talking about right now without having like Britt should be like, and maybe she was and we didn't see that footage.
Sure. Right.
She could have been like, for all we know, there was like a whole time period where she like had Thunder Rosa's back and they had that all on film and didn't put it on TV because that's totally boring and nobody wants to see that. It doesn't sell ads.
Yeah.
Like, but they didn't do it that way. So if that's true,
and nothing has
leaked that way.
It may not at all be.
She's just not being an ally to other women, which is probably not the best. Like, I mean, to break the cycle, we're supposed to like be propping each. I know it's hard in wrestling. It's just,
it is, and like I get it, and like I said, I know that wrestling is cutthroat, and you look out for yourself, and you have to. If somebody gets injured, they can take your spot. Like I get it, but it doesn't help that on top of that, the biggest storyline out of the women's division last year was Britt versus Thunder Rosa, and how they hated each other, and then they made Thunder Rosa when she came back. Before they hired her to do announcing for Spanish commentary, they made her go on a little apology tour in the locker room. So,
I don't know what there is to it. I know she has serious mental health issues she's talked about on her blog before. I have no idea what went on in backstage. They sure did make her look like the bad guy and just, I mean, the sandbagging story now, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe that's true.
Right.
Maybe that happened, but
and maybe that, but it sounds like her, because there were some issues with her and Marina, and Thunder Rosa, I believe it was, posted a picture of them backstage, and they apparently worked it out. They had a talk, which is what you should do.
I mean, we all know like her husband can get way out of hand on Twitter and go after people for saying like anything about her that may be construed as like he constantly is looking for. He'll probably find this and be mad at me. But whatever.
But no, it's but I mean, on the other hand, when you have people constantly
that's not her.
That's right. That's him. Exactly. And so, it's unfortunate if Jamie felt like she had to wrestle because she was worried how the locker room would react to her, and potentially risking further damage,
permanent injury.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true. It's just speculation that I saw out there, and it does make me wonder, even if it just played a small role in the reason she chose to. That's very unfortunate, and I hate that any wrestler would feel like that they can't take time off, because that's WWE mentality, that you have to wrestle injured. Or I mean, I know that's mentality in wrestling in general.
That's mentality in sports. Gotta
True.
play injured.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, I've played on
Right.
pretty
But to
serious
that
injuries.
extent where she already needed surgery but waited to get like that is an issue.
Not
I
good.
mean, there are people like I get playing injured people do like that's not the issue. It's the issue of when when you need surgery and you're not taking the time off to get surgery because you are concerned about what's going to happen to your spot or backstage, which I get. I mean, it's completely understandable, but it's very unfortunate if that is what happened. I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe it had nothing to do with it, but it's just she'd been injured for a while, and then all of a sudden she wrestles a pay-per-view match, and she shouldn't have.
That's the time that, to me, it's like the time that maybe it would have alleviated kind of the whole, like, everything that went along with All Out and the Brawl Out too, is like, that's the time to me where the boss needs to step in and say, hey, Jamie, just take me aside and say, hey, Jamie, I know that things are going on right now and that you may feel some pressure that to not take care of yourself because of how you might be viewed in the locker room, but you're not losing your spot, and I've signed you and I have faith in you and confidence in you and I've got you, so don't worry about it.
And that's kind of what they did with Tony. I mean, with Thunder Rosa in the beginning by, he told her like, because they made her like, and they obviously when they made Tony the interim champion, that was part of the reason. It was because he still was like, Thunder Rosa is the champion. She's just dealing with an injury. Obviously at the time, nobody knew the extent and just how bad it was. But so that shows you that even so he has done it in a sense before. And so but yes, I would agree that like that is a situation where you would need to step in.
I think he's been very preoccupied with the big shit that's going on at AEW these days.
Well, and it's not even the backstage stuff. There's so much Warner Brothers
just
stuff.
Everything.
Yeah. Daza said the culture of wrestling hurt is worrying. Reminds me of when they did a whole episode of Tough Enough where they mocked people who were hurt and reluctant to train. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's not okay.
It isn't. And especially as far as we have progressed in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to like mental health and things like that.
We have a whole show committed to how wrestling has messed people up and killed them a lot of the time.
Right.
Because of that culture, that exact culture.
Yep.
Like it's 2023 and a half now, guys. Like,
yeah.
Bad news, folks. We know that this stuff is bad for you on every level. Like, cut it out.
Right.
Grow up, move on, make your money scourge your profit somewhere else. We're happy to pay for it without that crap going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we will now we'll get back to this was an unscheduled topic. It is something we need to talk about.
Tangent.
We did.
Unscheduled tangents.
But it's true. It's something that needs to be discussed. And, even if it is and it just goes back to the, a lot of the stuff with the women's wrestling and how they're presented compared to the men. And they're presented as being, not that there wasn't drama in the women's locker room, because there clearly was, but they were presented as, oh, look, it's just typical women being women. You can't have women in a room together, when the men were doing just 10 times as much as they were. And that's
this whole entire
counting. There were people who were on last night's show not named CM Punk who have been involved in some things, and we will get to that topic as well.
But I mean, the drama that's been going on for
it's mostly been the men.
it's only been
mostly, other than the Britt Thunder Rosa stuff,
biggest
as far as I have heard,
the biggest story, the biggest, most clicks have been about the drama with the backstage AEW crap.
Yep, have been the men,
the dudes, but two executive vice presidents.
Yep,
I love them, but I also got to call them out. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
This is way better because
I have some things to say, and I'm sure Mel does too. So
no, but this is like the positivest news ever. It made me so happy. So
so last Friday we obviously did our nicest episode on the nicest day, and so we went live. We were done. I think Against All Our Odds had started. It started at 8, and I think we were done at like 9.
And you even said that, it's not gonna.
Yep. So if you listen to the show, I was talking about how Motor City Machine Guns were both going for individual titles. Chris Sabin was going for his 9th X Division championship, and Alex Shelley was facing Steve Macklin for the Impact World title. I had hoped that obviously both of them were winning the titles. I thought maybe Chris Sabin would win, but I wasn't sure because they've been pushing Trey Miguel pretty hard for a while. So I wasn't really sure. Really did not think Alex Shelley was gonna I was just like, the wrestling goddesses are not gonna give me this as much as I want it. They're like, no, Josh Alexander got hurt, so we had to put the title on Steve Macklin a little early. He's going to carry it. Nick Aldis is here. He's probably next in line. Like, Alex Shelley is going to get his shot like he did against Josh Alexander, and they're going to move on. And I was wrong. And I'm very happy that I was wrong.
Me too.
Because, and not only did Alex Shelley win the Impact heavyweight title for the first time ever in his 20-year his nearly 2 decades in Impact Wrestling, but Chris Sabin won his 9th, and as he'll tell you, he'll count 9 times, or he'll tell you 9 times, of the X Division champion. He is the most decorated, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is the most decorated X Division champion in Impact history. So I was very, very excited when I had not seen the show, but I was covering, because I'd watched Rampage and I was covering it. And I was in the middle of, I hadn't started. That's what it was. I had not started my article yet. And I saw that Alex Shelley won. And then I spent like 20 minutes like retweeting stuff and reading stuff. And I was like, my editor is going to kill me because I haven't even started my article yet. And I'm over here retweeting stuff. And he's waiting. He's probably waiting. He's like, can you do that after this? Please write your article and then retweet all of the stuff.
I think it was like Mike Gilbert or John Muse tweeted about it immediately. And I was like, oh my God, Sam must be freaking out now.
I was freaking out. Like, I
was so happy. Like, not just for him, I was happy for you. I was like,
I appreciate that.
I did a lot of hard work. Like, it makes me so happy because I know how happy it's gonna make her.
I was already excited because Chris Sabin won, and I was super excited about that. But then I saw that graphic, and I was really happy for Alex. And then they're champions at the same time, which I love. Nikki confirms that yes, I was 100% losing it. And she even said, because I forget what I said on Twitter, Nikki's like, I will go on the show and tell them, and I will confirm that you lost it.
If you guys need any backup, we will let you know.
Yeah.
See, we knew we could check with Nikki.
Yes.
Like, how hard did Sam actually mark out? And she like, I mean, it's like, I'm worried about being in the building like this weekend. And then that happened. I was like, well, Sam had her own like moment like that in a way. And she just, if she had been in the building, she would have exploded.
Oh God. I don't even know what would have happened if I had been in the building. And I saw the video, I saw the pictures of them together in the ring with their titles. And then there was a picture of them with Frankie Kazarian, because they like all came up in Impact together. And so then that was just Nikki said the hardest you can mark out. Yeah, I was really I couldn't believe it. Like, even like an hour later, I was like, I can't believe they let me have this. And so last night we were joking because we watched some of Wrestling Revolver, and Motor City wrestled ABC, and they both had they all have titles for various, so because ABC are still the Impact Tag Team Champions, and so they all had their Impact belts last night, and they were Impact and Motor City they have 2 titles apiece, because they are also the I believe it's the Prestige Tag Team Champions as well.
Oh,
and so
funny.
So we had, because a few months ago I had been talking about, because they had the Strong titles, and I was like, let them be ultimate.
They were
they're
melted at that point.
Dragon. And so last night I was telling Nikki, I was like, the wrestling goddesses are like, you can't have Ultimo Dragon Motor City Machine Guns, but we'll let Alex Shelley win the Impact World Championship. So you can have that, and you can have Chris Sabin having a singles title at the same time. So we'll let you have that, but you can't have them having all of the tag team titles.
But I mean,
I was like,
this
I
is a
guess
pretty
that's
good
fair.
compromise.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure Alex Shelley will appreciate being the Impact champion versus being Ultimo Dragon with 9 titles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nikki said she's kind of surprised I didn't cry.
Mm.
I think my eyes watered a little bit, but I did not full on cry. But I just was very. I think it's when
so
I saw the
awesome.
picture of it together. I think is what really got me because they each were in the ring and they each had their titles, and I was like, oh my god. And then like I saw the video the next day of they talked to Alex. They show the video of Alex after he won the title backstage, and he was just like talking about how he ugly cried and he couldn't believe that he got the title. And then it was nice on Thursday they came out and they opened the show and Chris was like, I dreamed that I won I won the X Division title, and he was like, and Alex Shelley won the Impact World title, and he's like, and then I woke up and it wasn't a dream, and it was really sweet it was a nice little moment with them, and so I was extremely happy. I am bracing myself for Alex Shelley to be a transitional champion. I'm a little nervous because Slammiversary is him versus Nick Aldis. I kind of felt as soon as Nick Aldis came back around, it wouldn't be long before he was champion. So I'm hoping. I was talking to one of my editors about it. And he's like, we didn't think he was going to get the title tonight, so maybe they'll let him hold on to the title a little bit. Maybe he'll keep it until Bound for Glory or something like that. And I was like, or maybe he'll drop it to Tanahashi at Multiverse United 2 in August. This was prior to us knowing about MJF. Maybe Tana will end up with. Maybe he'll end up with the AEW World title and the Impact World title at the same time. I was like, that would be fun. I seriously doubt we would get that, but that would be fun. But
I don't think we'll see it necessarily, but that would be fun.
In an alternate universe, I would like that to happen. But yeah, so I'm preparing myself to just enjoy Alex Shelley's title reign.
Ride the wave.
Yes, definitely riding the wave. I know in the back of my mind there's a really good chance that Nick Aldis will take it from him at Slammiversary on July 15th, and so he may only have the title for a month, but I'm hopeful that it lasts longer than that, and I'm just happy that he has it, and I'm even happier that Chris has the X Division title at the same time, so they're both singles championship, because they definitely, for me, are on the Impact Mount Rushmore. I mean, they're two guys that you can't talk about Impact without. I mean, of course, you can't talk about Impact without like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, even Kurt Angle. But you can't talk about Impact without those two. And then, one thing that I thought was really cool, because Alex, he cut it in the promo before the title, and then he mentioned again on Thursday, like he's talking about how his fingerprints are all over wrestling, because not just in the tag team division, he helped train Jay White, Seth Rollins, just all these names that he has helped. And so I'm glad to finally see that that he got that love and however long it lasts. Anne said, so happy for Alex. As you can tell, I am very happy too.
That's great. It's good stuff. I mean, it's really good stuff.
It is really good stuff. And so it's nice to have that and I'm just glad that Impact recognized that. And however long this title reign lasts, I'm glad that he got it. And I don't know maybe Chris, I don't know if they'll have them drop the title. They might rip my heart out and make them both lose the title the same night, or maybe they'll be nice and have Chris Sabin hold the title a little bit longer, but
maybe it'll be a success for them and they'll push off whatever they were going to do.
So.
I mean, for all we know, like the Impact crowd goes the way of enjoying it, and Scott D'Amore has to adjust. I mean,
yeah, there were so many "you deserve it" chants.
You never know.
Yeah. And then, and they had things, Josh Alexander was not supposed to get injured when he did, and they were supposed to go a little bit longer before Steve Macklin. So maybe since they're having to reverse course a little bit and change things, maybe Alex Shelley does get it for a little bit longer.
I mean, those two guys are like pros. So maybe for now, maybe it should be a little bit longer than, a
month.
I'm hopeful for you. I'm hopeful for him and them, because I like both. I mean, local So
Right. Yeah, they're Mel's hometown boys.
they're I mean, you know,
Or her adopted hometown boys, I should
yeah,
say.
and I've seen Alex Shelley wrestle so many times just because of wrestling. Like I'm here and he's here, and I go to wrestling shows and he wrestles on wrestling shows, and I just love that about him. So to me, it's like, well, yeah, that seems like the greatest. Like that seems like the perfect guy to have a title on.
Yeah. Grace says now they need the tag titles. Please let them have all the tag titles. This is what I originally wanted, and now let them have all the tag titles plus these singles titles they have.
Well, they seem like they're using the strong titles differently, so it's not quite a feeder program. It's almost the same strong, but it's a little different. They're using it as like a way to showcase matches and stuff, it seems like. And I mean, to like build up the women's thing, and I mean, I don't know. I like what they're doing with strong. Seems like it is taking some kind of a shape. They said that it was going to look different, and then they left us in the dark, but you can see that it kind of morphs. It's like they've got the Independence Day shows coming up and all of that, and that's part of the strong branding, and it's almost like it's their North America kind of like, or I don't know, international, not in Japan, sort of like sub promotion that they can use.
Some of the Japanese fans are getting to see some of the wrestling that they didn't get before on Strong, because I mean, obviously they're familiar with, you know, your Filthy Tom Lawlers and
totally
things like that. So, but I'm glad that they're going over there and getting to see, like,
it works both ways.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that, and I'm excited for those shows. Those shows are going to be a lot of fun. And then we got, then they announced another match yesterday, I think it was, for the Independence Day show. So we talked about it last week about how it was Jon Moxley and Homicide versus Despy and Jun Kasai. And then I had said, well, that's night one. Hopefully night two we'll get Despy versus Jon Moxley, and we are.
Yeah, in a dog collar match, right?
It's a final. Was it final? No, it was. Hang on, I've got it. It was a final.
No, it's a something. A final deletion. It was like
a final battle. And I was like, that's like, the ROH program, the ROH one.
It's
but
something like a death something.
But it's basically it's like a really intense. Brad said he thinks it's like their version of a Texas death match.
Okay, fair enough.
He thinks, but it could be. But knowing those two, even if it is
just call it a dead end match.
Even if it is the Texas death match type of thing, with those two, I'm sure it will be as close to hardcore as they can get.
And I'm sure that they're gonna have all those other people in there.
And he's gonna bleed. And
Jon
Moxley will bleed.
So it's gonna be that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
that'll actually, you know what that's like UWF and Pride, and like that's some like hardcore like FMW. Like, it's sort of funny like how those guys are doing all that right now. With just hardcore, kind of the funny.
It's not a random New Japan Strong show.
Why not? I mean, they're living living out the like videos that they watched as little kids. young men.
Yeah, and it's like, hilarious. And you see, it's fun. It's because, and it's not just the American wrestlers that want this; it's the Japanese wrestlers are like, we want this too. Like, we grew up watching Onita. We want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Jon Moxley is down for this. Then we want, there's American wrestlers that are into this. Then we want to do it too.
I mean, they love Terry Funk. They love Bruiser Brody. They loved all those guys. Mm-hmm. So it's like right up their alley.
And so they're like, yes, bring me Eddie Kingston.
And I'm here for it too. I mean. The Japan fans want it. The me fans want it. So North America me wants it.
Yes, me. Yeah, same. So from somebody, it's funny. From somebody who wouldn't watch ECW as a teenager, I'm all about these type of matches now.
I never thought that this would be something that I would be into, but it's because it's how it's presented, I think, is what it is. And
probably
how talented some of these people are at what they're doing.
Yeah, like I watched an insane on Wrestling Revolver last night. There was this insane match between Alex Colon and Crazy King, I think is his name, and it was like a unlucky 13 Staples match or something, and it was like this. They had to get to like a certain amount of Staples before they could do a pinfall or submission. It was insane. There was tables and ladder, and like it was one of the wildest things I've seen. It was crazy.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, and so again, like I said, from somebody who did not watch ECW as a teenager, now I watch things like this fairly regularly. This is not something that I would have expected from teenage me. Teenage me is like, what are you into? Why are you watching this?
I love it. It's because
we've evolved. Teenage me.
Exactly. That's it. It's an evolution. There's different kinds of wrestling, and then there's other different kinds that are offshoots of that kind of wrestling. And now I think more than ever, also just the access. Like, you can.
Well, and I think it also depends on the people who are involved. Like, it's Jon Moxley. Okay, I'm interested in I love a lot of what Jon Moxley does. Like, I loved one of my favorite matches last year was his match with Filthy Tom.
Yep.
At Defy, and that was one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen. So, and then you've got your Mance Warners, and you've got some of the stuff that happens with like some GCW stuff I've seen, and like you've got your Nick Gages. I mean, some stuff still makes me cringe and still makes me uncomfortable and squirm. And there are still some death matches I'm not gonna watch them. Like I think there's a death match promotion supposed to be coming to the area, and a friend of mine is like, I'm going, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I will be at that. You have fun. I still have a line that I'm like, that's not for me.
Too far.
Yeah.
Too far.
Yeah. So I was like,
I'm still okay. It's like what you, because there's
exactly.
There's tons of it. Just enjoy your stuff. Like, and it's not that stuff that's not for you, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And speaking of people who bleed and like to do crazy things during matches, we had the return of Eddie Kingston this week on Dynamite, which came a little earlier than I expected. We knew, as we talked about last week when we were talking about the independent stage shows, we knew Eddie Kingston was wrestling Kenta for the Strong title because Kenta had fighting words and told Eddie he was from New Jersey. And so apparently that pissed him off so much, it spurred him to show up early for Dynamite. Maybe he thought Kenta was going to be there, and he's like, I'm coming now.
I'm coming.
But what a crazy show that was. Like, just even with like Eddie was like the fifth craziest thing on that show. There was this
that surprised me.
So
it was
good.
Like surprisingly, shockingly good this week.
Yeah,
it was like they opened with that match that I actually liked. I know a lot of people didn't like it.
Adam Cole versus MJF. I watched it. I watched it again.
Good. It was really good.
Like, I loved it when it happened, but then I saw most of the main event, but I had to go back and watch some things that I missed, and like wanted to make sure I got all of it. So we started it, and I was like, let's watch Adam Cole versus MJF again. And we did. And I put it on it's not my match of the year, but it's on my honorable mention. Like, that was a really good match. Really good match. Like, you can see the Karrion Kross comment comparison did not hurt Adam Cole. Like we said, it would not. The
shocker.
I knew. We talked about this as well when we knew it was an eliminator match. Like, we both knew Adam Cole was not winning here. Yeah. But the way they got to it was perfect, I think. Like, it was
clever.
Just really,
they had me. I forgot or didn't realize it was timed.
I didn't either.
Or what the time was.
Right. And I was the same way, because I originally thought when the bell rang, I was like, who rang the bell? I thought MJF paid somebody to ring the bell. So I was like, who rang the bell? Yeah. I thought he paid somebody off. It's going to be like Jose the assistant or something.
Yep. I was the same way. I was like, who's ringing the bell? Stop it.
That's what I said, who rang the bell? And then I was like, there was a time limit. Like, the same time that Adam Cole realized it, I realized it. And I was like, time, like, because Nikki and I were talking, and I still agree, like, I still will say I like the Proving Ground matches better, but in the Proving Ground matches, you've got 10 minutes. Like, you either go 10 minutes with the champion or you beat them to get the title shot. And then here, and so that's one of my frustrations with the eliminator match, other than this one, because I think this is done really well. If you're gonna go ahead and go that far, make it a title match. Like, there's no point in a eliminator title match going 30 minutes, and they don't typically go the full time. So with this one, I guess I would say maybe it doesn't bother me as much, but at this point, if you're going to give me a half an hour match then make it for the title. Don't do you have to beat him to get a title.
Yeah,
But-
that would be the downside to it. I mean, it was a good match, but you're right on. And it frustrates me a little bit, like, to that point, that because MJF is that good of a wrestler and doesn't wrestle, and then you have matches like that.
Yeah, and I know that's his whole point. Like that, his whole
Sure.
his whole gimmick is wrestle smarter, not harder.
Of
And he's like, I
course.
want to keep my body. And basically, it's not even that he's preserving his body; it's the fans don't deserve to watch him wrestle. Which I get it; it fits into it, but it is frustrating because MJF is a very good wrestler. Like he's
He's a great talker, but people, I mean, he can wrestle too.
So
like,
good.
Still, one of my favorite AEW matches is him and John Moxley.
Yeah, that match was fantastic.
Was really good.
Like I love the MJF dog collar and CM Punk dog collar match. Like I thought that was like their whole series of matches I thought was really good. So like MJF has been in these places where he's just had these, and even the 4 Pillars match ended up being way better than anybody expected it to be.
Yeah.
So Nikki definitely said, like, wait, I know it wasn't Wardlow. Oops, rang that bell.
Oops. I like that word. I'm using that. Stealing.
Anne says the Eliminator match was not needed. No, it should
have been a real match.
Should have been a title match. Yes, agreed. And
I guess, like, I get this. This is cool. I don't mind it. They're doing a similar storyline with Zack Sabre and Jeff Cobb, where they went to a draw and then he has the win, and now they've got the third in the series. And I am a big fan of, like, the series thing too.
But
like,
the thing with the TV title is it's a 15-minute time limit.
Right.
It's not, and the Proven Ground matches are 10 minutes. So it's like, because I like the TV title. Can you beat Zack Sabre Jr. in 15 minutes? Like, I think that's a really smart concept. But can you beat the AEW World Champion in 30 minutes? I don't.
Nah.
Not when it's not for the, not if it's
60.
not for the title. Like if it's but that's a 30-minute. Can you beat him in 30 minutes to earn another match with him for that title? Like I don't like that. I think it's, and they kind of have backed off from doing that. So I appreciate that. But I would have preferred.
I mean, I wonder if they were experimenting with it. It seems like they are trying to like tighten things up, and there are a lot more. I know that I like it. They're like showing the packages from New Japan and stuff, so that people are getting like the better. I know you saw it because I saw that you saw it on Twitter. Was Tanahashi's MJF his answer to MJF and getting his name, getting the letters all wrong? So that was excellent.
Great. Yeah,
but yeah, I'm just
and it.
Oops, you go.
That's okay. Oh, that's a good point. Cole already beat Jericho in a previous feud to earn a title shot, in a sense, with MJF. Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's an excellent point.
And so but regardless of the crap that they added onto it, the match was fantastic.
Yes.
Whenever we get that rematch, I think it's going to be really, and that's the thing me and Nikki were talking about, like, where does this match happen? Because you can't wait all the way for All In.
Fun guts someday.
You can't do Forbidden. It's obviously not Forbidden Door, and it wouldn't have been anywhere. So it was like, is it just going to be a random Wednesday night? Are we going to do a Battle of the Belts? Like, where does this match?
The Battle of the Belts. Blood and Guts is still out there too, I guess. You could put it at like the main event.
Yeah. So
I mean,
whenever we get it, though, I think it's going to be really good. And when Adam Cole finally beats him, it'll be really good. But yeah, I mean, even like they had the 8-man that was after it. Like everything on that card was really good. And I really like this episode.
It was a good episode of Dynamite. It was just like, it was so fast, and it was so like, the pacing was good, and the matches were good, and everybody on it was good, and it felt like it was building excitement for Forbidden Door. And they like, I think the guys on the Dynamite show were talking about it being kind of like the go home show a little bit. It almost was like it was really close to being on its way.
Yeah, I think somebody made the point that they were like, AEW's like, all the playoffs are over, like the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs are all over. Now we can just go full throttle to everything, which is which is really interesting. But hey, it's good for us, whatever the reason is. So we had a really good show. So I was really into it. I loved the main event. I thought it was a lot of fun. There was so much chaos going on, and I saw somebody make the comment that they thought it was overbooked, and there was just so much like, you need to know, and people were like, oh well, you need to know who this is. People know who Will Ospreay is. If we're people The people who are buying Forbidden Door know who he is.
At this point, especially, this is like the second year now. We've done a Forbidden Door now. We've had a lot of New Japan wrestlers interacting with Shibata and Orange Cassidy have had a match, since Will Ospreay and him last year.
Yeah.
It just, I think that
we've got to stop treating fans like they're stupid. Like, I can't.
The core of this audience, the people that are really bringing your money in, it's like, yeah, you want to get casual viewer or whatever. No, but like the core of your audience gets it. So stop it. Like Marvel and DC, well, Marvel has been the best one, but like Marvel at some point, they stopped doing the thing where they were holding people's hand. They were like, there's 38 movies, okay? Go figure it out on your own. We're going to do a movie. We're going to do a Spider-Man or a whatever. And if you don't understand or know anything about it, go look it up. It's called the internet.
That's the thing that we were talking about too. Like, no, this doesn't happen anywhere else but wrestling. Nobody else caters to. I mean, I guess in a way you can say like soap operas do it where they repeat like repetitive stuff for people who may have missed a day or a couple of days. They'll repeat stuff like that. But in most TV shows, movies, they don't hold your hand. You have got to figure it. I mean, and I don't see I don't know why people make such a big, and I think it's part of the reason of the casual fan trope. And I hate that trope because I don't think there are casual. I mean, there are, but not to the same extent. The people who are, if they're casual fans, then they're probably not buying Forbidden Door anyway.
Right, exactly. They're not. They're definitely not. They're less likely to buy Forbidden Door than they would a regular AEW pay-per-view because it's got weird Japanese wrestlers on it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't understand we do know people complain just to complain, but I thought, I loved the ending. I thought it was great. I'm super glad that Eddie is back. He came in, and what I thought was really cool was because Eddie went, when we watched it back, Eddie went straight for Claudio, and it goes back to like the ROH stuff that they've been feuding in, but then Jon Moxley got mad at Eddie for going after Claudio because Jon Moxley told Eddie he could not fight Claudio in AEW. And what does Eddie do the minute he gets back? He goes straight for Claudio, and it pissed Jon Moxley off.
Of course. I mean,
so that was a nice little, and I guess if you're not watching regularly, you would have missed it, and you gotta hold your hand.
Dude, it's like, if you can't ask the person in the room with you, if you're watching by yourself, you've got a device.
Right.
Everybody has a device. Like my going on 11-year-old niece, she doesn't have like a phone, but she has a freaking like portable device.
Right.
She can utilize to like look things up that she sees.
Right. Yeah. I get it. Like, I don't think that it's in like, they're not being like, oh, well, we're not, it's not like we're being too cool for you and you can't,
we're not being edgelords. We're being normal.
It's just,
it's just something we're into.
If you give them time, they will explain it. Like, Excalibur is very good at explaining. Like, he couldn't because there's so much chaos. But next week, when they come back and they're talking about, and the chaos, on the ending of last week's Dynamite, we had Will Ospreay show up. Well, we already know, first of all, Will Ospreay is showing up because he's wrestling Kenny at Forbidden Door. But then they can say, Eddie came back, and Eddie and Jon Moxley are best friends, but Jon Moxley is also close with Claudio, and they can revisit that type of stuff. Like, it's not like, they're not going to just leave you hanging. Like Excalibur explains everything. So
He
and
does.
luckily for him, he has Saturday nights off. So
Thank God.
he can rest.
Rest
He
his
can
voice.
rest his voice and his brain, not having to keep all that in one place.
I think on his weekends with his wife, she should just be like, okay, dude, I'm gonna take care of just all the thinking part.
Right. Yeah.
I'll do all the thinking and talking this weekend, hon. Like, I know I married a wrestler or a wrestling broadcaster. Like, he does remind me, like, until someone brought it up, that the Micro Machines guy, and I was like,
Yes.
yeah, that's funny, because I had
Yes.
forgotten that.
That's exactly what that
And that's like,
yes.
you know,
That's a
90s,
perfect
90s,
example.
only 90s kids will understand or whatever. But, like,
memory unlocked.
yeah, it was hilarious. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like, it's like Justin Roberts. I mark out about him a lot because, like, I've been into enough shows now. Like, he is not just like a ring announcer. He hosts those shows. Like, when you're in the building and he's doing his thing, he's a lot of fun. He interacts with the audience. And he's another one that's like Excalibur, where he like explains things and he helps you. They have these like two dudes that are really, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Like,
And Excalibur
in a
is
contemporary
freaking encyclopedia,
context, not in a JR or an older veteran or somebody, but in a more contemporary sort of like language and talking to the more contemporary fan.
Right. Right. And I think that's why they lean so heavily on Excalibur, because he is so knowledgeable and he knows so much, especially his exposure to like indie wrestling and a lot of just wrestling that's out there in general. And I think that's why they lean so heavily on him, is because they know that he A, knows the information, and B, he knows how to explain it without he doesn't talk down to people when he explains. Like, he's like, oh, let me tell you about this person, or let me tell you about this or this. Like, he doesn't speak to them in like a condescending
Does it
way.
make you feel stupid?
Yeah, he's very good. He just talks to you like a friend, like, oh, okay, so this is what this means. And so this is, oh, they have this history from back in PWG, or they have this history from back in Japan 20 years ago. Like,
he talks to you like someone who wants to get you interested in it with him.
Yes.
Which is the way you should be talking about the fun stuff that you like, especially pro wrestling.
Yes.
Because everyone should like pro wrestling, because it would spare them so much grief. And I mean, you stay off the Twitter and stuff. Like, it's amazing. Like this last week's Dynamite was so fun and so cool. And it gave you everything, and it delivered, and it had a great intro, and it had a great main event, and they needed a really good Dynamite. Not that I've like hated the shows, but it's been a little like weird and stagnant, and some of the stuff's been like meh to me, where I've been like half.
And I think part of it's just they're trying to figure things out. They've got to move things.
There's all kinds of stuff going on right now,
and I didn't really think about how much of it they probably were having to wait for the playoffs because they know. If there are basketball fans who watch wrestling, there are hockey fans that watch wrestling. They're gonna lose a chunk of people who are like, "I'll go back to
you
my
can't
DVR.
Like throw a bunch of your best stuff on when you know you're going up against like the last game of the NBA Finals. Like, it's
like Collision's gonna have to, that's something Collision's gonna have to deal with when college football comes back.
Good Lord!
And
Saturday night and everything.
And I'm
else.
sure they've got things like stuff figured out, and they know what they're up against. Like, I think that they know, and they'll figure it out. And there's still a new show. They're gonna have learning curves, just kind of like Rampage did. And like, even though Rampage wasn't like 2 weeks ago, that championship night of Rampage was the best Rampage they've had in a really long time. The following week had some solid stuff. It wasn't quite like the old Rampages where they were just throwing whoever was available. And even Friday nights, like the main event, like if you have not seen Rampage yet, go watch Takeshita versus Bandito in the main event.
I just because I heard a bunch of people saying like I really enjoyed the previous one and then really enjoyed the previous one. Before that.
Yeah.
A lot of people I was on there, I was like, oh, we should watch this one. I heard that there's some really, plus the Bandito match, like I was like, okay, I'm totally into this.
Yeah, I mean, the opening match was good too,
right? Is that the match?
He did. I did not know that until I listened to the Fight Game show last night.
I think it sucks.
during the match with
that blows because it was such a good match.
It was a really great match, but Bandito's, but they've been plugging him in all kinds of, like, he's been in ROH, he's been doing Best Amigos stuff, like they've been using him everywhere they can fit him in, which the more Bandito, the more the more excited I am to see him. So the timing, especially with everything coming up this summer, like that's a really tough blow to have it happen when it did. And I think last night they were saying somebody else broke their wrist and they were out like 12 weeks, I think is what they said. I mean, we don't know the timetable yet for Bandito, but like
Best
12 weeks at this time of the year, just that really sucks for him.
That's the worst.
I hate that for him. And it was such a good match. It was really great. They're two different types of wrestlers, but they made it work with each other's styles, and it looked really good. My biggest complaint about Rampage was that Taya Valkyrie versus Trish Adora got 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
that match.
I was glad she was on the show.
And if she was in them, Trish was in her hometown, which was really cool to see. We knew Ty. I just wish it had gotten more, especially because Trish is already great as it is. You've heard Mel and I talking about her for months. Now she's training at La Dojo. Like, so there's only I think it's her and Johnny Robbie, I believe, are the only two women who are currently training at the dojo. And I was hoping, I was like, so now she's learning all this. Like, she's training under Fred Rosser and Shibata and my goodness. Over there at the dojo. So like Trish is going to be, she was already good. She's going to be like on another freaking level.
Yeah.
When she's done with that. So but she had a really good match on ROH with, who was it that I don't think it was Willow. Who did she? I just blanked on who she wrestled, but she had a really good match there too. So I can't wait to see like when she graduates from the dojo, like what she's going to be doing. Because they're going to have a hard time holding her back. Like maybe they prime her to be the one who takes the title off of Athena. I mean, she has wrestled Athena already, but that could be somebody like Trish Adora is somebody I see I would love to have her be in an AEW, a champion on an AEW, but she would be phenomenal. She would be a great ROH champion, as well. But yes. So is there, before we move on to Collision, is there anything else you want to add about?
No, that was it.
All right.
I think that you caught it all. So.
Okay. So, well, I guess before we get to Collision, we'll bring up the interview. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. The interview, so we got word Thursday that something was coming. It may be bad. It may rub people the wrong way. And so then, of course, that, you know what that does? That hypes up the internet. Because there's no chill on the internet.
Oh my God.
We have to assume the worst.
I just hate how like the whole thing basically started because it was like Wade Keller went out and was like, well, I don't want to speculate, but I'm going to go ahead and speculate. And
in the vaguest way possible.
Oh.
And then that started it. And that's why I made the tweet that I did about, did they forget about the NDA? Like, this is not.
But the NDA,
whatever comes out is not going to be what you think it is. Like, whatever the interview is, whatever the promo is that he says, he's not going to go out and say, this is, Nick Jackson did this to me. Like, he's not going to say that. Like,
no.
They're not.
He can't talk about the Jacksons, and he can't talk about Kenny, and he did reference and he did allude to the Bucks, which we knew was going to happen, but they did the same thing in Chicago. When the Elite were in Chicago, Kenny made a reference to being bitten by Ace Steel. They made pot shots too, but they didn't straight out say CM Punk threw a chair at Nick Jackson. Like, they didn't, they're not going to. That's what an NDA is for. But people expected, they were expecting another pipe bomb promo. And I'm like, they're not going to, because the NDA is in place, and they would be dumb as hell not to have an NDA in place, not just on Punk, but all of them. And then we turned. And so I was just like, this is not going to be what you think it is. And it wasn't. You know what it was? I said this to Bob. It was a giant subtweet at their like it was he took shots at their friends because he couldn't say anything about them. It was like a big subtweet at the Bucks. Like
it was, but we also, it came out before the interview came out. It came out that Fightful reported AEW set up the interview.
I know, and they knew everything that was on it.
They had somebody with him, which I will say, when I have interviewed people for AEW, it's been a while, but when I have, there is always one of the people who helps set up the interviews is on the call. They listen to what we're saying. Like, they know, which thank goodness one of the times they were, because I think it was when I interviewed Nyla, my audio did not record it, or it didn't say, something happened with my audio. I think something got full, and thank goodness she was there. She had it recorded because she sent me the clip so that I could transcribe, because I was really upset because I talked to Nyla for like 45 minutes.
Nice.
And I was about to cry because I was like, everything is gone. So they do typically, and I actually saw, I don't remember if it was Righteous Reg, someone else said the same thing.
Exactly anytime I've done
anytime I've done an AEW interview, there has been somebody from the company on the call. Like, they don't participate, but they're there, obviously. And so of course they had, and even if that wasn't the norm for CM Punk, you're gonna have, in his first interview since all of this happened, you're gonna have somebody sitting there, or even if they weren't in the room, they were on the call. So I was just like, you guys,
they were in the room.
Yeah, I was like, AEW set up the interview. They probably picked Mark Bermondi for a reason. They probably felt like they could trust him. Not that he's gonna like make shit up or anything, or a lot like, and because he didn't gloss things over. Like, he put in there, like, CM Punk downplayed some of what happened, and Mark Bermondi didn't take that out of there. Maybe, and of course, there is the point that I think Meltzer made, that was only a portion of the interview, because
they left out the worst stuff. But the problem,
but not even necessarily leaving out the worst stuff. Like, but you can't. Because then they would have had to write an entire chapter. Like, you've only got so much to work with. Or if they did a video interview.
That interview, somehow somebody who heard the interview then went to the locker room and told like a third-hand story where they were like, this is what happened in the interview. So it was like all the shit that was pissing everybody off in the back was because they heard, it was like a game of telephone.
It was.
And all they did the whole time was lean into it. They knew exactly what they were doing. They dropped it in between, after when the Observer dropped, and before Collision started on Saturday night.
Well, and that was one of the most aggravating things. Well, first of all, because we had to sit through Thursday, which was bad enough, because that's when the internet went crazy, and we were just like, and I think it was Phil from Grapsody was like, or Bleacher Report was like, the interview hasn't even come out. Can you guys like wait till it comes out, and then if you have complaints, then say what you gotta say. Just like chill out, which was my whole thing. Like, I was not engaging in any conversation about it because it was just all bad faith arguments.
I was just lurking. It was
and so I was like, that's why I just said what I said, and I just left it. I was like, that's all I gotta say about it. There's an NDA in place. He's not gonna say what you think he is. He is not gonna sit there.
He's not
even gonna say, I hate the Young Bucks guts. Like, he's not gonna say that.
Like, I was in a conversation, and I said, this is like the carniest shit I've ever seen. And I was at the Michigan Renaissance Festival cast party once. Like, I seriously, like, I go to Ren Fair and lean in hard, and this was too carny for me. I'm like, what are?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was like so. I thought like in some of it, everybody. Plus, he took a shot at the media, which was hilarious. It's like, you're using the media and taking a shot at the same time.
Grace said any publicity is good publicity. This is why I've been saying Warner Brothers wants him, because they know
he's controversial.
Controversy creates.
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong last. Like, I mean, he was doing the thing where he was like, "Tell me when I'm telling lies."
Right,
and
it made me. I know
it was kind of frustrating, because I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily appreciate the way that you went about doing what you did, but you I mean, you do create controversy. That's not a lie. You definitely do.
It's not even
piss people off. make people tribalist people.
Well, but and see, and this brings it. The stuff he was saying, some of the stuff he was saying last night, brought me back to the Eddie stuff that I've asked before. Eddie Kingston rubs a lot of people the wrong way backstage. He has done it his whole career. He has made enemies. He has hit his own coworker, which just happened last year.
Oh yeah,
and like nobody, the stuff with like, but no, and of course, and I know it's a little different. Obviously, CM Punk went after EVPs. He did it in a different forum. Like, so those things I get. But but there are a lot of similarities there. But there was nowhere near as much blowback for Eddie Kingston hitting Sammy Guevara. They made Eddie, and not that Eddie Kingston would not have apologized to Sammy on his own. He probably
didn't Andrade punch someone too.
Yes, which I'm going to get to.
Okay,
that's in my
gotcha.
Yes, that's one of the things I wanted to touch on. Eddie's apology to Sammy was on All Access. They put it on TV. I don't know, and I'm not saying that Eddie would not have apologized to Sammy anyway, and maybe he already had, and they're like, do it again for TV. But
I'm sure
CM Punk did, and we knew this before the ESPN article. We knew that CM Punk had apologized to Tony. He has tried apologizing to the Bucks, and they have not wanted to talk to him, which is, we've talked about, it's completely their prerogative. They don't have to, but he has attempted, which is all he can do. And, I don't know that he's apologized to Hangman. It sounds like probably not. But so there's those things. But so my question was last night, has Andrade apologized to Sammy? Why is nobody talking about that? Andrade provoked Sammy so that he could hit Sammy to get fired. Nobody is talking about him. Where is his? Why do you not have that same energy for Andrade? It's because you don't like CM Punk, which is fine. But if you're going to have that energy for CM Punk doing what he did, why do you not have that for other people in the locker room who are hitting their coworkers? Why I have that? Just that rubs me the wrong way. Because like, if you're good, and again, I know that in CM Punk's case, it involved EVPs, which is a completely different level than hitting Sammy Guevara. That's not the same thing. You can't that's hitting your boss.
Hitting coworkers is, that would be like, but in real life, if you punched your coworker, you'd just be fired from your
right,
job.
Exactly.
But he was trying to be fired, so it's tricky because it's wrestling and
exactly, and it's not the same. It's
case issue. It's like,
right, but yeah. So, but that's what they, everybody was talking about. Oh, it was just the stuff with CM, which I get. But and again, I've said this many times. CM Punk was wrong for what he did. He completely handled it the wrong way. I was surprised. I have a lot of mixed feelings about the situation. I've been a long time Punk fan, but I am a fan of the Elite. I have watched Hangman Page come up in my local promotion. I have watched him since he was young. I am a very big fan of Hangman Page. So this has been, and even last night, I still had mixed feelings about it. And then hearing his music and then I was like, oh God. I was like, I'm so like, I'm annoyed, but again, it's not my, like, it annoys me, but it's not my place to fix anything. Like, that's not on me to fix what he did and if you don't like him, that's completely fine. I don't have an issue.
Here's my judginess. My only judginess, my like quick judgy. And it's sort of like it's a devil's advocate judgy, is that I love Elite. And I am totally, and and I think that I'm not a Phil fan. I'm just not.
Sure.
And that's but I also do know what money he brings in, and I know how good he can be for the promotion and all those things, so whatever. But like, the Young Bucks are supposed to be executive vice presidents of a corporation or a company, and I feel as though even if you don't want to accept his apology, you're executive vice presidents. And so with everybody's contracts coming up, which is what I think the real, like, what is a bigger issue, I think, is like, how is this going to affect? You've got Kenny Omega's contract coming up. You got the Bucks coming up.
Well, no, you got Adam Page as well.
But Adam Page may feel like that might affect the way he feels about working at AEW. Sure. But the problem really at large is like, so if they do, like, let's say that the leader AEW for life, and it's fine and it's great, their name is on it, the whole thing, like, whatever. But do they say, you know what, we're not going to be bosses anymore? We're not going to be, or does Tony say, when he resigns them, I'm gonna resign you, but you're not gonna be bosses of things if you can't bury a hatchet. As
And that's a question that has been brought up before, and now it's more, I guess, of a reality because CM Punk is back. Whether that is, I still am 100. I still think it's because of Warner Brothers.
It's because of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's 100. I think no matter what, because Tony and CM Punk seem to be okay or seem to be good. Which in the situation they've got to be good if they're gonna be working together and making money.
And it's 2 more hours of wrestling every week from AEW, which I love. Like, I'm all about that. I've been wanting that for a really long time. It's not exactly what I pictured, but
right.
They're not out there.
I'd rather have I'd rather have an all women's wrestling show if we're gonna do an extra, but that's not what we were given. But But yeah, I don't want the Elite to leave because of CM Punk or because Warner Brothers I think one thing that may help is they know that he is back because Warner Brothers wanted him back and not because Tony's, putting a big middle finger in their faces. Like, I don't think it's that. And I think it's also he's already under contract. We're going to have to pay him regardless. And
they couldn't work out a buyout from everything.
Right. And then Warner Brothers probably stepped in and be like, hey, if you let CM Punk be the star, we'll give you two more hours of TV.
Right.
Like, I'm sure it was not as simplistic as that, but it might have been. I still feel like,
maybe it was, though. I mean, corporations are
that's
gross.
True. Maybe that's true. And of course, Punk made the reference to the Warner Brothers president in his promo last night because, of course, he did. But yeah, I hate the situation but and like a lot of people have pointed out, even Mance Warner tweeted it a few days ago, wrestlers fight all the time. They don't like each other. They get in fist fights. Arn Anderson got stabbed multiple times by Sid Vicious with scissors.
Of wrestling
and the wrestling business is still here. So the wrestling business will go on. It is unfortunate that these things happen, especially in 2023. It's still really and it's unfortunate when it happens to it's unfortunate it happens to people that you like, which makes it harder, not just from CM Punk, but like it's happening. When two wrestlers you like are not getting along for whatever reason, even if it's like Eddie and Sammy or Britt and Thunder Rosa or whoever it is, like it's frustrating. But
it's a bummer.
These things happen. There are a lot of people go to work with people every single day that they don't like. They don't hit them. They don't throw chairs at them and things like that. They don't take their work meetings hostage and air their grievances.
Yeah.
Most people don't do
maybe
that.
They do. But
well, that's true. Maybe they do.
But not in most everybody's.
Right. And we know wrestling is as much as Phil brought up the stuff of like this, he did kind of downplay it he did downplay it a bit, but it does happen in sports every day. It's true. Hockey players fight. They fight all the time in their
the
game.
NFL is like just like all these stories.
They
like,
do
pay
happen.
Attention.
Yeah, they do, but they don't
follow your favorite team.
Yeah, but they don't typically involve your hitting your bosses, which is why I know this is why Sammy. What happens with CM Punk is quite a bit different. But if we're going to the point where you're hitting your coworkers, Eddie and Andrade have done the same thing and didn't get nearly the blowback that CM Punk has gotten about it. And Nikki said that if Eddie did what Punk did, most people would be like, LOL, Eddie's shooting. I'm not excusing Punk, but I just don't know that people would act the same way if it was someone else.
He is very polarizing.
Yes. But Eddie has been polarizing as well as far as locker room goes. I think in the fans, most fans love Eddie. I love Eddie. I love that guy. But if we're talking about polarizing in the locker room, and Eddie has been and he's said it, he's his own worst enemy. He has cost himself spots and things like that. But he doesn't get the same. And I think Nikki has a point that if he did what CM Punk did, that I don't think the fans would have reacted to Eddie in the same way that they
I
have.
think it's because of the way that Punk comes off to people.
Right.
I mean,
and he does. No, believe me, because sometimes
he just rubs me like he's
and
very
even as a
arrogant.
fan
I
of
mean,
him,
that's his
sometimes
whole thing, and maybe it's his gimmick, but it seems a little too authentic sometimes. And I
yeah,
just
and
like
there's times like I am a fan of his,
very
and
narcissistic,
sometimes
like
he will say things, and
unhealthy.
yeah, sometimes he will say things, and I'm like, please stop talking. Just shh. Just please find a different way to deal with this.
He just seems like he's like, I'm I'm straight edge, but I'm still a human, so I need a vice, and my vice is being addicted to myself.
Maybe.
And I think that he sometimes just like that's, and obviously, I mean, it worked, but also it works for him because look at what's going on. I mean,
Right.
they built,
and it can be, and like you said, it's a detriment for, and it can be
polarizing or
detrimental,
not. We
and
all tuned in.
right, right, and that's like, and that's another thing that I'm curious is how are
does it
the
do?
obviously and not just the CM Punk, the fans were really hype all night. Like Miro got a huge pop, Andrade got a huge pop, Sky Blue got a huge pop. I mean, obviously it's her hometown, but like I'm curious how the fans will react like once it moves out of Chicago and starts moving it. I'm not expecting a lot of noise in Canada, it sounds like.
Well, considering that there's like just tickets available, it's like, I mean, for Saturday night, it's
Yeah. Well, and CM Punk made a good point in his, I mean, and of course, when you're on this type of a show, you got to be positive and things like that. But CM Punk was like, I think it might be easier to sell a ticket to a Saturday night show than a show on the middle of the week, which I think is a fair point. But on the other hand, in the middle of the week, you don't generally have all these other options, where on Saturdays, that's like date night for a lot of people. I mean, maybe they do take their date night if they're wrestling fans and they do go to Collision, but that's
or maybe a family thing if they tried to go that route.
Yeah, or if they start selling like 4 packs of tickets like they do at baseball games, or something like that. Yeah, like I could see maybe that being so. So he does have a point. Like, so if you need, man, what am I going to do tonight? Oh, wrestling's in town. I'm going to buy a ticket. Like, so you will attract some of those fans, but in general, it's going to be really hard to attract people, and so it'll be really, and that's not just, and so it'll be interesting to see how these crowds continue to react and how the tickets move, because I haven't looked. I don't know how they're like, tickets went on sale for both Carolina shows. I haven't looked to see how they're doing, and so it'll be interesting to see, like, once they get out of Canada too, like how these tickets go. And Gray asked, do you think AEW will re-sign him when his contract is up? It depends on if he can stay healthy in the remainder of what's left of his contract, because he's already, I believe he's 43. He's had 2 injuries in the last year or so. There was the foot thing, which was kind of, I mean, that was his fault because he jumped into the barricades, but he tore his muscle completely off of his arm.
I tore it off my bone. So
yeah,
I mean, that tricep injury was pretty bad.
That tricep, yeah, and so had that tricep injury not happened, would he have been on
18 months or something? I mean, it's been a long time.
So I think it just depends on how. I think a lot of it depends on how healthy he is, and even if he wants to continue, because I don't know what's left on his contract.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if it's 2 years, because I can't remember if he signed a 5-year deal or a 3-year deal.
I felt like it was 5, but it's so hard to know because they don't share that on purpose in that industry the way that they do in the big.
It's not like a baseball contract.
Well, it's because there's no salary caps and stuff. Like there's no actual business behind like the business in that regard. It's only about Warner Brothers numbers and that.
Right.
Has
so
nothing
I mean,
to do.
maybe they keep him around as a TV personality. Maybe he wants to coach. I know that before all of this, he was really supportive of the women's locker room. Maybe he helps coach. Maybe he wants to be an agent. So, I mean, I guess they could re-sign him in a different capacity than he currently is. But I think then of course, it all just depends.
Time.
Yeah. And so it depends. I mean, obviously, it all just depends on, if something else happens, if there's another blow up or another locker room incident. I think it all just kind of depends. He's basically got to be on his best behavior from now until his contract runs out. But I mean, he may not even want, I mean, he is older. So, I mean, maybe he's just like been wrestling. I've been wrestling since I was 16 years old. I'm done. I can't keep the last, because I'm sure as much as this has taken a toll on the elite and things like that, I'm sure it's taken its toll on him too, because now he's had to, not only has he had to sit with recovery of his injury, it sounds like he's had to sit with the consequences of his own actions.
Wow.
He does, and from what people have said, even prior to this contract, before this came up, before the article came out, that he has been remorseful of his part in it. So maybe he has, maybe because he sat with it for 8 months, he's like, I did not handle that correctly. Maybe I
hope so.
should not have done that, but who knows? And there was a point that I wanted to make along with this, but so we had the return of Miro and Andrade, and we were talking about the reasons they were not on TV, because it kind of made me laugh a little bit, because Andrade's thing is making his 2023 debut. Why is he just now making his 2023 debut? We don't talk about that nobody talks about that on TV, but we know why. So it made me think, because when I was writing that article that I started 9 months ago, when all of this happened, I did not expect the article to sit on the shelf for as long as it did. So I was counting, and yesterday was 287 days since CM Punk last wrestled in an AEW ring. And so I was like, well, when was the last time we saw Miro and Andrade? I did not realize it was the same night. They both wrestled on All Out. Miro, Sting, and Darby defeated House of Black. So I went to Cage Match last night to look.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize Miro was on there. And then Andrade was in the Casino Battle Royale with Claudio, Dante, the Lucha Brothers, Yuta, and Rush. And then that's when the Devil showed up and he won the whole thing. And then at the end, it turns out to be MJF. So I did not realize all three of them were last on All Out. But then somebody else, Kristen Ashley, had a tweet of when they were last on TV. So Miro's last TV date before last night was June 15th. So yesterday was a year and 2 days since Miro has been on AEW television.
Wow.
He reportedly, as far as I know, he did not hit anybody. He was allegedly not on TV because he didn't like the storylines he was given. He turned them down. He was apparently going to win a bunch of matches, but then he was going to lose the big match at the pay-per-view, and he didn't want to do that. And so he reportedly refused to do the storyline. So they're like, well, if you don't want to use the story, and he was filming the TV show on top of that. He was filming the CBS show that he's on.
Right.
He's, so there was that going on too, but so that's why Miro was off TV reportedly. That's the rumor that's gone around for months. I don't think it's ever been confirmed, but that was the rumor. And then Andrade was before, other than All Out, he had not been on TV since August 17th, which was the week before CM Punk was last on TV, August the 24th, because that's when he lost to Jon Moxley in that 3-minute match. But the week before that was Andrade's last time that he was on TV. So it's been a while since a lot of them were on TV, but they both got, Andrade and Miro got really big pops last night. It seemed like the fans were
Miro got a pretty big pop even with the video package in Detroit. So
yeah.
I wouldn't mind. I love it when I love his battle with God.
Me too.
And that's got mad that God wouldn't answer.
That's what I was joking about. I was like, God he's still
God won't accept his challenge, so he's
still ducking Miro. He still fears Miro apparently. I like that in the match because I missed it, but I heard the guys talk about it. Nikki said she caught it like a few times. Miro looked up at the sky like he was looking at God, like why? So I like that he's carrying that on that match with. And then his match I thought was really good. He just beat the crap out of Tony Nese, which apparently Tony Nese is bringing his ROH body shaming gimmick that he just started. This is he started that on Thursday where he is now body shaming the crowd so that he can exercise with them. And I was like, oh, we're doing this now. And now we're bringing it to TV. Okay, cool. But Miro beat the crap out of him. So cool. Maybe he'll stop body shaming people. But so what did you think of Collision overall?
I thought it was a good first episode. I don't know what I was expecting, so I can't say that I feel like it was like it met my expectations or exceeded my expectations. I didn't know what to expect. There was, because
they kind of purposely didn't say.
It was very ambiguous as to what it's, to me. It was just Like, and I'm always like, I am very, very, very excited. Like, this is the main thing for me. This is 2 more hours of AEW wrestling on TV. I know it's going to get moved around a bit, or it's going to have weird competition or whatever.
Right.
But I was glad to see people like Buddy Matthews on the card, because I really like Buddy Matthews, and I think that people don't get to see. I think it'll be a great way to, if they can use this to flesh out the roster that they can't use, like they're not using on Dynamite.
Yes.
And build, like, get the women some character, get the people that need some time on the mic, like, you know, get them some time on the mic, or get the people that are really good on the mic but need some ring time.
Yeah. Right.
I think that there's a lot of potential for this show. They clearly have the production money. Like, it was a well-produced show. It was exciting. It looked like a wrestling show. It didn't look like a, you know, amateur show. It was,
the audio sounded a little bit like an amateur
I love the freaking
the commentary
was, their audio sucks all the time.
The commentary, it was very, like, especially in the main event, like, they might as well have not even had commentary out there. Like, you could not hear them. It was just that. Hopefully they get that. And that happened.
I mean, JR took a fall, and then he did the show, and he shouldn't have done the show probably.
And then he tweeted last night. I don't know if you saw the tweet.
He said that he was sorry.
And he said he's taking time away to heal.
Good.
So I don't know. There are sounds like some implications. I mean, maybe he just means heal because he fell, but there were.
I know that some people were concerned about how did you take the fall.
Right.
He's really struggled with his skin cancer over time.
Right, and that was my initial reaction. Like
that chemo and radiation over a long period. What people don't understand is that as you do those are, it's not good for you. Like, it kills the cancer, but it's not good for you. And it's like, you have to spend periods of time. Like, you can't be near people when you're undergoing radiotherapy, because, like, you can't radioactivate them.
Yeah.
Like, you have to.
Right. And on top of this,
he's not getting any younger.
That's what I was gonna say. On top of this, and this is not an ageist, I'm not making an ageist comment. JR is not, he's an old man. He's older. He's in his 70s. He has health, and he's been dealing with Bell's palsy for years. Bell's
health issues.
Yeah, and Bell's palsy can flare up. I mean, some people, I have had it where it was just a temporary thing and only dealt with it for like a week, and I've not had it again. But some people, especially in JR's case, it's something that flares up on him occasionally. I'm sure chemotherapy probably did not do a lot of good stuff for his Bell's palsy.
It kills your immunity and such.
Right. So
and
I'm
sure he has to take neuro drugs for his Bell's palsy because it's a neurological disorder.
Right. So there's probably a lot of, I think there's health issues
something for that. And
yeah, and you know, he did lose his wife a few years ago. That's been
horribly, tragically lost her. I mean,
yeah, and he has had that's enough on its own. Then he's had to deal with the health problem. So sure, and I completely understand the concern of being worried about potentially being, there being a drinking issue. I completely get that, but he's also, there's a lot of other factors that could be contributing to this. Whatever the reason is, whatever he means by I'm going to heal, maybe that means maybe there is a drinking issue and he's going to take care of that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just his health in general, because he has been through a lot the last few years. Maybe whatever the reason is, I'm just glad that he is going to do whatever he needs to do.
Go heal, please.
Yes. And whatever that means, then I'm glad that he's doing it. But even before JR came out and the issue, the audio was terrible all night long.
Yeah.
It was
hard to hear Kevin Kelly. He was very drowned out the entire time, which is unfortunate because that's a fantastic, and Nigel as well.
Yeah, Nigel was drowned out, and then somebody made the joke to me that they were like, I didn't know if it was me, my TV, or my lifelong inability to be able to understand the British accent.
Not this time. It was actually the audio this time. It didn't help. How about this? It would definitely not help someone who struggles with the thicker British accent.
Yes, but from what I could hear,
if they're not using the fantasy British accent, no one understands them.
Yes, and so I hope they get the audios figured out, because I really want it. Like I like
they can't
just
get it
hearing
figured
Kevin's
out on
voice
Dynamite,
made me really
though.
happy last night, and Kevin did. So I don't know if you guys missed it. In case you did. So when the announcement was made that Kevin Kelly will be, excuse me, doing commentary, obviously one of the first questions
we all freaked out and we're like, "Oh my god, what about G1?"
He will be he's still doing the G1. They were kind enough to work with his schedule. Chris Charlton has said that on the occasions that Kevin cannot be, I don't think this was just G1, I think this is just in general, on the occasions that Kevin can't be with him, New Japan has somebody that can help out Chris. And he said, and Kevin said, when I can't be there, when I can't be at Collision, then somebody will be able to fill in for me. I am hoping
Ian Riccaboni.
I actually am. I'm hoping it's Veda Scott. That is who I want. That's who I was wanting to be on commentary. I thought this would have been the perfect spot to have a woman on commentary on a brand new show. And it may just be because New Japan is using her. They're utilizing her for their American stuff. Maybe they want to get her some more, get some more stuff under her belt. But if they are going to bring on a woman on commentary, I hope it's Veda. So I would love for her to be able to fill it. I think that would be cool if she got to fill in. Maybe it is going to be Ian. Maybe it'll be Caprice. Maybe it'll be Taz.
Get some Alex.
Maybe it's Daddy Magic. Might be Daddy Magic.
Daddy Magic was pretty good at it. Jeff Cobb is one hell of a but he'll be away. So
yes, Daddy Magic was on ROH's commentary the other night because. Wait, no, Rampage, because Anna Jay wrestled.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Daddy Magic was sat in on commentary, and it was great. He's so funny. So I'm excited. But I'm really excited for Kevin. I'm glad. I'm wondering now. So I don't know if Nigel, I assume they picked him because he's already going to be there for ROH. I guess they'll be doing their commentary then. Or if they're just going to pull him off of ROH commentary and let just him do that and let Ian, because he's still, even though he's gotten better, he sticks out like a sore thumb with Ian and Caprice,
because Ian and Caprice
they have such a good team. They have such a good, like in the beginning, Nigel seemed to just not like them. Like he just seemed like it didn't even seem like it was a character. It seemed like he straight up just
couldn't take it. I don't think he understood their humor.
Yeah, I think
I don't think it translated properly.
I think he's starting to get it, and he kind of will play along, and he'll kind of like I think he hated when Caprice and Ian would get into Willow's theme because they were doing it before Taz was doing it, and then it kind of became they were trying to outdo Taz, and Taz was trying to outdo them, so it just became this joke between them. But I don't think Nigel liked it, and he was just, and now he kind of seems like he's in on it. He kind of plays along with this being the stick in the mud. Like he's getting a little bit better, but sometimes he still will just make comments, and I'm like, do you just not want to be here?
It may just not be the style. I mean, like if you read JR is a good example. If you read his books and talks about like the way that he styles his commentary and broadcast and everything, and that each different one, and it has made me notice that people do approach it differently. Maybe that's not a good fit for him. Maybe Collision is a good fit for him because Kevin Kelly's a very versatile announcer. He's they were
on ROH together several years ago. They were the commentary team, was Kevin and Nigel. And then Nigel, I think some of it is too because he was in WWE for so long, and you kind of have to retrain yourself. Like you don't have to stick with the WWE way of things when you're not in WWE anymore. And I think he's been trying to get a feel for like who he is when he's not in WWE, and he still has to play the heel person. And so I guess that's kind of what he'll be to Kevin as well, like, which I get, but he just seemed to like not, it's gotten a little better, but he just did not mesh well. Like in the beginning, like he was scolding Kevin, and I mean, he was scolding Ian and Caprice.
Yeah, I remember, because
And
we
I was
talked.
just
I
like-
think we talked to Paul Fontaine after the show that
Yeah.
night, and we all talked about the fact that he was kind of like really.
Yeah, he was really it was, he just didn't seem to fit.
It wasn't a good fit for him. It's just not a good fit for him.
Right.
May-
And so
this
he's
will be a
gotten
better
a little
fit, I
he
think.
has gotten a little looser with them, but now I'm wondering if they'll just pull him off of
Well, this
ROH.
might just be better. Like, there's
completely.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You don't
Or maybe
have
the
to
plan was for him to be on Collision all along, and they're like, in the meantime,
do
we'll
this.
put you on ROH, let you get in, get used to calling some matches
Get a
again.
check.
Yeah, get yourself familiar with the ROH
Names.
roster, because you're gonna see some of them in AEW. Maybe it was some of that, and then it just didn't play out. But overall, like, I thought, so I would agree. As far as the show goes, like, I enjoyed the show. The show went by really fast. Like, those 2 hours
It did go by fast. I
they
hope
went
that
by
they
really
keep the pacing thing going good.
it
was fun to watch with the Fight Game group. There were a lot of people on live last night, so that was nice. It was fun.
Yeah, and I don't know that this will
we'll
be
see
for
after
every
the first
Saturday.
day.
I think part of it was like, because even my friend was like, he will watch Collision, probably not live every week. He was like, I watched live tonight because I wanted to hear what CM Punk was gonna say. I didn't want to wait till tomorrow, and then then I would know everything he said. So he's like, I caught it live because I wanted to hear that and just wanted to see things. But so I think a lot of people probably did tune in, and because nobody really knew what to expect, because they kept a lot of things close to the vest about, like, we weren't getting matches other than the main event, and then all of a sudden they're like, Luchasaurus versus Wardlow for the title, and we were like, what?
Yeah, right.
Then Luchasaurus won the title. We were like, what? And I do agree. I think it was kind of a title change for the sake of a title change. But because I saw somebody make the comment, like, or they were making the comment about Luchasaurus got a singles title before Jungle Boy did. But I think there is a reason for that, because I think they're playing into the Jungle Boy. I mean, he's already going to wrestle, which
he's about to wrestle Sonata.
Yes,
like,
he's about to answer Sonata. The heel turn is probably coming at some point this year. They're really teasing it. Maybe
he'll cut his hair.
Yeah, maybe Luchasaurus drops the title to Jungle Boy. Maybe that's why. I don't know how.
Do you think he'll cut his hair, or do you think he'll stick with the?
I think he'll keep the hair, because I think that's just part of him, not necessary. I think they'll change the music.
Evil.
I think
they have to. You can't have Tarzan.
That's what I told him. I was like, well, Judas is a sing along, and Chris Jericho is a heel, so they could give him something else that you could sing to, but in a heel type of way.
Well, there's a lot of choices. I mean, we already know that people are mad that, like, Tony picked a 50-year-old song for his.
I am not mad, and I think
it's hilarious. I loved Jim and I were making jokes, and Mike and JD and a few other people were all making jokes about, like, I was just like, well, they left Saturday night with the Bay City Rollers on the table, so what the hell?
I think it's because they are going to I'm hoping it's because they're bringing Elton John in
Wembley. That makes a lot of sense.
And I think it's also because Elton John owns a soccer team, and so does Tony.
Oh, there you go.
Which he made a reference to in the tweet. He said something about how, like, something about their fans will never be friends or something. I can't remember. He made a reference to their fans. And he was like, that we
talk about rivalries.
Yeah, so
I think NFL rivalries are crazy.
I'm hoping
real football rivalries are scary.
I hope it leads to Elton John performing at All In. I was joking that I hope he sings Goodbye Yellow Brick Road to trigger Jeff Jarrett, because that is Effie's theme music, and Jeff Jarrett has wrestled Effie, and I hope that that's what he goes with. But I was like, he can sing whatever. I don't even care. He could change it to Sunday Night's All Right for Fighting. I don't care. I just want him to be there. I just want him to perform. Maybe he'll just be in the audience. But I can't only imagine how much he had to pay to get that song. But maybe it was cheaper than the Bay City Rollers. Or because somebody was like, why didn't he use Saturday by Ludacris?
Well, and then there was like a bunch of people saying they should use the Nickelback cover. And I'm like, well, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
That's it. Wrong, unacceptable, incorrect. You said Nickelback. Like, Hard no.
Yeah. But I love the song.
I thought it was
super
great.
hyped.
I think it's fun. I love that people get their panties in a bunch about the silliest stuff in the world.
They do.
It's so much fun.
And so I would agree with Gray. He said Andrade had a fantastic match. Andrade versus Buddy was probably my favorite match last night.
Yeah.
I loved that they used their significant others' finishers in the match. I thought that was really great. And Nikki made the point that, because Andrade tweeted and said that he was like, oh, because Charlotte tweeted and was like, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And so Andrade said, he's like, oh, thank you for your support. I love doing your move, but you didn't tell me how hard it is to do that move. And so Nikki was joking. She was like, that's really funny. She's like, but then there's that, oh, women can't wrestle as good as men. Well, Andrade can't do Charlotte Flair's finisher.
So can't do
I thought it was, and I saw a few people point out, they're like, we see so many women who they do their men's finisher, so I'm glad to see that the men did their women's finishers. But I thought it was really funny. This seems to, Grace said, Island of the Disenfranchised Toys, some great woman said. Yeah, that's Collision seems to that might be what's happening over there.
That's what I changed what the Boom guys said. It was the Island of Misfit Toys, or I think it was Mike and JD. You may have said that, but I said more like the Island of Disenfranchised Toys.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's
apt.
But you know what? It started off great. I hope it stays great. I am always going to be happy for more wrestling.
Nikki said she told me that Christian's going to run around and act like the title and gaslight Luchasaurus while he does it.
Of course.
Yeah. And then she made the comment that Roman Reigns isn't the only one who gaslights people. And it was so funny because Nikki said, like, as soon as he won, Nikki's like, oh, Christian's going to take that title and pretend it's his. Literally 2 seconds later, he's on Luchasaurus's shoulders with it in his hand. And I was like, because I was like, I would have rather Christian be the champion. I wanted, when the match was announced, I was like, put the title on Christian. He poured low away from it for a while and rebuild him or do something, but I guess this works too. And Christian it'll go with Christian's turtlenecks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. We did not get any match announcements for next week's Collision, correct? Or did I miss it?
Not a single one.
I thought that was an interesting choice. I mean, I know Forbidden Door.
Me too, because it's not sold at all.
Right, so. And Forbidden Door I know is next week, so I'm assuming Collision will probably have some Japanese wrestlers on it. It's probably why they're keeping it close to the vest. But like we already know, Shibata is gonna be on Dynamite. I never thought I would see Shibata and Orange Cassidy teaming up against Zack Sabre Jr. and Daniel Garcia.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
That match is gonna be awesome. And so I was like, we'll probably see some other Minoru Suzuki is going to be with Lace X Gods for some reason. I was like, I hope Sammy turns on Jericho and joins Minoru Suzuki.
That'd be awesome.
Please just get Sammy away from JAS for good this time. Not the fake, not where he pretends. Hope he brings back the big panda head because Jericho is the one who told him to stop wearing it. So I was like, bring it back. Just to piss him off. Orange bollocks. Yes, that's what Zack Sabre Jr. said to. So it's interesting. And like, of course, we don't know what's going to happen on Rampage. So I guess that's why they're waiting for Collision. But
maybe.
I guess we'll get some more entrance into the Owen. So far, we've found out that Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks will be in it, which is really cool. I still think Taya will be in the women. Women's, and I think she's going to win it for the women.
Makes sense. I mean,
I still think that's where they're going with that. But yes, I'm looking forward to that. And then I don't know why my throat is staying so dry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
I know I've been coughing all episode, but I don't know where this. I don't think it's my allergies. I don't know, my throat's just dry. But so with the Dynamite stuff, we did get some more of the Forbidden Door 2 card, which we've already alluded to. Sonata and Jungle Boy. I did not I don't think most of us had that on our bingo card. But I think it'll be a lot better match than people are expecting it to be.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got dog barking all around my house. They're very excited about the situation. But yeah, I think, yes, definitely. I mean, it was not what I expected. And I was like, at first I was like, why him? And then I was like, why not?
Yeah. Well, and then it goes,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
and then
the biggest match of Jack Perry's career.
Absolutely. And so then it makes sense with when he says, well, he's made the declaration that he's going to win a singles title this year. Obviously, I don't think he's beating Sonata.
He's not winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
He's going for it. He's like, well,
but he's
gonna win
fighting
a title, I might as well.
A heavyweight champion, and he's making, I mean, the biggest thing here is like, and he really has to bring it, is to make the case that you should be a world champion. Well, I mean, wrestling one is certainly going to help. There's a size discrepancy. It's going to be an interesting match because there's like, how do you put those two styles together?
Right. And I was going to say, really I don't know that Jack Perry has wrestled anybody like Sonata before. So I think
different than most.
I think it'll be a good test for him. And I think it's the whole thing I think it's basically in a sense, a proving ground match. It's proving that he can be in a title picture, that even if it's like, I think it's, you know, and so maybe he does eventually win the TNT title. Some people have wondered if he's going to turn on Hook and challenge for the FTW title, which I could see that happening as well. But I think it's, you know, because when Sonata made the challenge, I was like, well, who's gonna answer him? And then I certainly did not think Jungle Boy, but the more
it wasn't even on my list.
Mine either, but I think the match will be good, and I think it'll be good for him. I think it'll be really good for him, and I think Sonata is a good opponent for that. And then, I think I was trying to
before Sam loses her voice here.
I'm scrolled down too far. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with my voice. I apologize. Apparently struggling. I did not fall down, so it's not that. My throat's just dry, even though I've been drinking water all day. So then we did have Tanahashi call out MJF, kind of trash talking, because MJF's been trash talking New Japan. He's been trash talking to them since before Forbidden Door last year, and before that. And so, of course, I think Brad was like, "It's probably going to be Tana," and then we were like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And
here we are.
I think that I don't see Tana obviously winning. Even though, and Tana made the point, I almost beat Jon Moxley last year to become your champion. Why can't I go for the title again?
I would love to see him steal the Triple B from freaking.
Oh God, how great would that be?
I mean, I don't see it happening. He's obviously doing the G1. He'd be carrying it around. Max can't chase him through Japan or whatever. But
yeah,
it would be. It will be fun to see it. And I mean, I think it'll be humbling enough that. I mean, the biggest question here now is like, with all these matches that have been announced, is like, what order do you put this thing in?
Yeah. And I still think they do what we talked about last week. I do think that they'll do the double main event. I think it'll be Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, and then that they'll do
Danielson Okada.
Yes. But where do you put MJF and Tana? Like,
where do you put the women
before those two, or is that like the middle of your show? Because I don't think you can open with that.
No, because that's the belt. I mean,
yeah, because
you have two belt defenses and two main events.
Right, that's what
I'm saying. You have two main events and two main events. Yeah.
Well, you don't want to, because you got to be careful with how you're bookending the show. And I don't know.
You don't want to wear me out. I mean, you can't wear us out.
I would not put MJF versus Tana first. I would leave that for the middle of the card. Let it have some space between Kenny and Will Ospreay. And I don't know that you open with Sonata versus. I guess, but I don't know if you would open with that either. And there's still
matches. Cassidy wrestling. He's wrestling Zack.
That has not been made official. That's what they seem to be alluding to. Orange versus Zack Sabre Jr.
That is a 15. What?
Yeah, see, that's a 15-minute time limit. Assuming
are they wrestling under IC rules or are they wrestling under TV rules?
They haven't made the match official, so I don't. That's
because that was my first thing. My immediate thing as soon as they were alluding to that, I went, okay, but under what rules?
Right. And then do you have? And there's supposedly going to be. There'd been rumors of maybe doing I'm sure they'll do more. They did a lot of tag matches last year. Part of that was because of the injuries.
Which they don't have to deal with this year.
You've got to have I think you have to have Jay White on this card. You have to have him in there under an AEW, and he was on there last year representing New Japan. I think you have to have him on there representing AEW this year. So maybe they do a tag team match or some sort with him. Last year they had Sting on there with Darby Allin and Shingo. Maybe they bring them back and let them wrestle some people. So
they're pushing Watto right now, so they probably might want to include him in the show somehow because he just won Super Juniors. He's just he's out there. I mean,
right. Yeah, would think that you would have, because I don't know that they'll
even if he's on a tag or I don't
know that they'll bring over Yota Tsuji because he's going to be preparing for his first G1
for his stuff. Yeah,
so then but you could bring Watto over, or you could bring Sho and Yo. You could bring Haramo is obviously a huge fan favorite. Obviously, there's Naito.
Well, and he didn't get to be there last year because he got sick.
Naito wasn't on the card last year. Maybe LIJ does something with. God, please don't put them against JAS. That's probably what's good. Maybe they'll do it, and then there's chaos. I'm sure you could have Best Friends and Trent do. And Rocky do something. You could do that too if they want. I think there'll probably be a pre-show as well. So they'll probably, last year on the pre-show,
they did a buy-in last year. So
they put Bishamon on there and people lost it. And I was very excited that they supported them because I did not know. I was like, oh, these fans, that's another reason, New Japan fans. And this is not casual fans buying this and then losing it for Goto.
And Taichi.
Yeah, right. Well, you can have just 5 guys. Yeah, maybe they'll bring just 5 guys over.
Oh, I hope they do. That would be great.
Chris Charlton will obviously be there. So yeah, so even that we're a week away, but this card's not full. So a lot can happen so I think that's part of why they didn't announce Collision. Probably something's going to get set up on Collision. Clearly Dynamite. I'm sure after the tag match, that's probably when we'll get Orange versus Zach and then find out what the rules are. Rampage still has some stuff that they can do. So they've got 3 shows coming up that they could do some stuff.
5 hours of television this week to build this thing with. So let's see how they use it.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Yeah, because the build is completely different than last year's build.
Totally. But that's because, there's so many reasons. People aren't hurt. Borders are open.
Yes.
Visas are secured.
Yeah, and they can put people who didn't get to be on last year's card. Hopefully they can find a spot for them this year. So they're not or maybe they bring back, Clark Connors sure as hell made a big impression last year. Maybe they found somewhere for Clark Connors. Maybe they do a little bit of Bullet Club Gold with Bullet Club, with David Finley's Bullet Club. Maybe they do something like that. So I'm really looking forward to the show. I can't wait. And you guys are going to have so much fun. I'm very jealous of you guys, but I'm very happy for you because you guys are going to have so much fun. And
at least I get to share it with you guys. And we'll get to have a lot of fun with our mystery crisscrosses, our crossovers, our team ups. We're teaming up with some of Fight Game Media
because we can coexist.
We love coexisting with Fight Game Media people.
We can coexist with them. But yeah, and then if you guys end up at Collision, you'll probably see some good stuff. I have a feeling Collision's going to be like mini Forbidden Door, probably. For people who can't fit on Forbidden Door, I think might be on Collision, maybe, is what they'll do. I could see some of that. I could see, maybe that's where they do just 5 guys, or I could see Bishamon, or stuff like that. Or maybe that's where they bring in Clark Connors and where do they call themselves? The War Dogs, I believe.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah. So maybe they do that. Maybe we will find out if we're getting Kenta versus CM Punk. I can't Kenta feels like he's working a lot of this stuff where he's like, because last night because he's been like, if you want this match to happen, you have to pay me. Last night he straight up said this match is not happening. I would not be surprised if the match does happen and he's just working us, but I will also not be surprised if he's dead serious, because with Kenta, you can never tell.
You can never tell.
Or maybe maybe he saw that tweet and maybe Tony offered him even more money and he's like, okay. Or so maybe we do get that match. Maybe who knows? Maybe Hangman Page will get to be on that card. Yeah. Who knows what they're going to do, knows? But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of good stuff. Hopefully now that CM Punk is back, people will maybe settle down a little bit. Yeah, maybe they'll dial it back a little bit and we can just and now Andrade is back and Miro is back. Maybe people can keep their hands to themselves.
Yeah.
And we can just enjoy a nice summer.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I would like that. I think that I second that, and we're going to do that.
Yes. We're going to speak it into existence.
It's done.
We have spoken. The Powerbombshells have spoken.
I have spoken.
Mel will be there at Forbidden Doors.
That's right.
She's watching y'all.
I will be watching.
This is going to be Mel. Now Mel has to go to Collision because she's going to be like, mm-mm.
Yeah, I might actually.
We said.
I mean, we put it at this point, I can get $200 tickets for $30 like they did last night. So, hey, why not?
Hey, I mean, you really could by the time walking up to the door, or you could use the gate Seat Geek or whatever it is that they always say. You can get 60% off before the show starts. So you could just be outside waiting and just be and then it'll be I was gonna say 7:55, but I'm sure there's ROH stuff being taped before that. But you can still be you could just stand outside.
Maybe we'll do a test run on how the distance to the hotel to the
there you go.
We were just seeing how far it was. Yeah. Oh, there's a show here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tickets are. I can get tickets for $15.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going from Tim Hortons now. I can go to Collision.
Maybe they'll give me a deal where if I buy a coffee and a bagel, I can get it. Yeah.
That's that would entice Despy.
There you go.
We have learned that he loves bagels. Maybe that's what you need. Just to have Despy be I have a bagel. Meet me outside, and then sneak me in.
Get me in.
I will trade you a Collision ticket for a bagel. Oh boy.
All right. Well, I think
we covered everything. And so I will be here next week. We wish Mel safe travels and hope that you have a great show and that you have a great time. And we cannot wait until the Sunday after that. Mel can give us a full report on what it was like being there, and she can compare it to, I know that you'll be talking about that on a bonus show elsewhere, but you can still tell us too. You can compare the Forbidden Doors and the energy, and if you go to Collision, you can tell us what it's like. And
what it's like, yeah.
If you make it, and if you don't, then and you watch it on TV or you find something else to do in Toronto, you can tell us about that.
Yeah. I was well, I got distracted by some poutine and it just didn't happen.
Hey, that's completely understandable. We would get it. So thank you for hanging out with us again this week. Definitely make sure that you are following us on social media at Powerbombshells, because we're going to try to do some stuff, hopefully.
Yeah.
Then you can find out if Mel got some poutine instead of going to Collision. You can just go, maybe.
Why not both?
Could be.
All righty.
But thanks for hanging out, and we will see you. Well, I will see you next week. Mel will see you in 2 weeks.
And the audio might be a little late next week, guys. So
yeah, that's all right. We'll get it. It'll get there when it gets there.
That's
and
right.
Nikki says for you guys to have you guys have fun and to stay safe.
Thank you, Nikki. We will keep you guys posted. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody.